All right, we're going to test this for like the 19th time. Testing one, two, three. How is that sounding for you guys?
Your voice is good.
All right. Is it looping anything?
Waiting, waiting.
Number 9.
I swear to God, Fee. I swear to God. Okay, is there a loop? Is there anything? Do I sound okay and am I looping?
I think we've.
Okay. Now, Fee, say something. Start talking for a minute, whatever, 10 seconds so that we can hear you well.
My name is Fee. I'm a Scorpio. I enjoy long walks on the beach. I hate the Beach Boys before
I
1975.
need a drink.
I love the Beach Boys after 1975.
Oh
All right,
my
that's good.
God!
Roy, speak so we can hear you and make sure
We've
your
escaped the
levels.
time loop. What year is it?
Check your loop. Check your levels. Fee, Roy, talk. Fee, tell him if he sounds good. Everybody, does he sound good? Okay, this works if Roy speaks and then Fee listens and says, "Can you hear him?" Am I muted?
The lazy fox jumped over the brown fence.
Beautiful. Fee, how does Roy sound?
Sexy as ever.
All right. Uh, okay. Kiwi,
Oh, you
please.
bandit!
Kiwi, speak, and everybody, including Roy and Fee, listen to him and say how he sounds. I can't be a part of this week.
Welcome. I come to you from the future.
All right.
He's got a funny accent, but I don't know. Maybe that's just my audio.
Wait, is Tangent not able to hear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't fall on that.
All right. Fee, mute yourself in the Discord, or yeah, make it to where you deafen yourself in the Discord so you can't hear, and then just hear it from the stream, please, and tell me that there's some kind of a sound. All right, testing, testing, testing. Say something, Roy. And Roy, say something, Grover, because Roy just muted himself too. Talk with me.
Oh, yes. So, welcome. We are hoping this is actually working now.
We are very, very much hoping.
Best one, two, three.
Mm-hmm. I have audio. I can hear Kiwi in the stream. Okay, beautiful. And can you hear me as well, Roy or Fee? Either? Anyone? Okay, beautiful. There is some kind of a sound. All right, Fee, unmute yourself in the Discord so you can talk to us. Audio is good. Okay, people are saying audio is good. We're gonna take that as good as
I think
enough.
we're good.
All right, we're gonna take that as good enough, and we're gonna go. We've done all the sound checks. We've got everything set. Uh, Fee, unmute yourself and undeafen so you can join us. We're going to get started now. Oh, thank you for bearing with us with the technical oddities of starting up. Yes, Fee. Yes, unmute yourself now, please. Come back to us. All right,
I'm here.
beautiful. We're going to get started. All right. That's that. Let me put this down.
And again, everybody who has tuned in to listen to the mayhem and chaos, thank you again for participating in the chaos.
For sure, for
Yeah.
sure. But that's okay
Much
because
appreciated.
here's what happens. We start off, we do this, we do the intros, we say hi to people in the chat, we do a couple minutes of social, and then we get to the part where we're going to do the edit in of the song for the podcast, and we're going to have a special song this week. It's going to be good stuff. And
It's
then
a sing along.
and then we're going to
Mhm.
and
Oh, the
and
Beach
then we're going to
Boys?
go with the show from there. So I've got the Google Doc back up with the agenda for tonight. All right, so let's just relax with it and have a little fun here and shake off all that whatever the hell it was we just did. So let me pull this over to here. Hello.
You know, Kai, that's what makes us different, man.
Yeah. Yeah. See, it's fun for you because you're just sitting there laughing. But for me, it's a hassle and a half. I don't know about anyone else, but I'm really freaking happy with my character. Goddamn right, Tangent Revolution. Goddamn right. All right. Finnegan Gilmartin Neptune class ship kit is cool. Hey, I'm rocking the what the hell is it? The science one. No, the science.
Oh no.
The is it the Neptune? How
Is that the Neptune? I thought the Neptune was the science one. The globe on the front?
Yeah, it's got the circle on the front, like the 2001 ship. It's the the Neptune, I think. Yeah, it is. It is very, very good. Do we have? We've got six people on the stream. Somebody say hi in stream so I can see who you're at. Jerry Hughes, I have audio. Thank you very much, Jerry. All right. So we're going to shake it all down. How is everybody doing on this Friday night? I have a little
Nautilus.
alcohol.
Phil P.
Nautilus.
has reminded us it's Nautilus.
Yes.
Hey,
Yeah.
that's what it was, Phil. I was like, I know it's not. It doesn't seem right. It's the Nautilus. Yes.
Neptune's the one that looks like its head's cut off.
Yeah, Neptune is the one that's weird. It's like they forgot to put a front to it. Tangent went with the same one as Dubs. He went with the Victory, the Hammerhead.
Yeah, I used that one too.
Which is
Me as
kind of
well.
which is kind of cool. It kind of works out for Grover Kiwi because it looks like it's got kind of a moai just kind of stapled to the front of it, doesn't it, Grover? Seriously, the head of it looks like a moai.
I want to clarify my statement. The Neptune class looked like his head's cut off, but I almost picked it. So I didn't mean that to be a negative review of the design.
Hey, man, here's the beautiful thing about that. Everyone has their own aesthetic. There is no wrong answer. If it makes you happy, rock out with your cock out. You do you, man. It's all good. I am going to be drinking for this episode because that was a hell of a start.
You've earned it, Kai.
Yep.
Jesus. But, yeah. All right.
Yeah, if you start weeping, we'll just give you a couple of minutes.
All right. So we're going to do I went with the Victory and I love it. Yes. All right. So we've said hi to everybody in the stream. We've checked the sound levels. We fixed our tech issues. And now I'm going to put this to a nice view of carrier services. I got my phone on mute. Here we go. I'm going to give you a nice little view of the Nautilus with that sweet, sweet look right there. And I think this looks so good. And I love the engine for this one, which,
nice.
Yeah, you can get there. Yo, look at that. That is legit. That is legit. All right. We're going to go ahead and do the insert now for purposes of the podcast broadcast, for the editing and whatnot. So, let's see here. All right. Let me bring up the agenda and we'll get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Elite Week, episode 16, the Galactic Water Cooler. This is another Galactic Water Cooler. I know you guys love that. Tonight is Friday, June the 12th, and I am here with some awesome people. I am here with Commander Fee. Say hello, Fee.
Hello, Fee.
Right on, following instructions like a good man should. Say hello, Commander Roy Cookson.
Hey, everybody. How you doing this evening?
Yes, yes. Hello, hello. And we have a special guest. We have a friend of mine, Grover Kiwi. Now, Grover is
From tomorrow.
He's calling from the future. That is correct. Grover lives in New Zealand, and in New Zealand, it's already Saturday. He's just had lunch. How crazy is that? Say hi, Grover.
Yeah, it's closer to Sunday than it is to Friday here now. So,
Wow.
yeah.
And Grover, mad props to you guys kicking COVID-19 in the ass.
Yeah. Wow.
You guys have done a great job.
For
Yeah,
sure.
I don't know if we might be lying, but no one's going to come and check. So
Keeping all the auditors out.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. All right, so we have a lot to talk about today, man. Today's been a crazy, crazy day in the world of Elite Dangerous, hasn't it? So let's dive right in. So this week we had a roundup. Let's start off with the fleet carrier drop. All right. So first off, fleet carriers dropped on Tuesday. The drop itself was smooth-ish. Smooth-ish in Frontier terms. It wasn't the kind of situation where it breaks the game for 3 months. It was the kind of situation where some stuff went wonky. It was like 16-hour sort of delay or whatever. Things went weird. The BGS went a little weird. Some stuff went a little sideways. But it's more or less up and running, and things are fairly, smooth. We've got the patch notes, which we're not going to go through in detail, but it's going to be in the show notes for you to take a look at. But the main thing is, there was a lot of good stuff in there. There was some stuff in there that was a little disappointing for me. The downside of it was that they didn't put the date and timestamp in there for the Buckyballers. Yeah. And I'm just going to say that flat out. Like, there's no other way for me to say this. That is a letdown. We let the community management team know that they needed to address that. There is a small but devoted portion of their fan base that needed that in order to do what they do, and they just didn't do it. And I'm going to say this because I always want to be honest, and I love Frontier. I love this game. But that oversight was inexcusable, and they need to address it. So I'm just going to call it out like it is. I'm not going to be overly crazy. I'm not going to be like nasty or belligerent or whatever, but I'm just going to say it's inexcusable. You need to fix that now. The other side that I was a little let down on was I kind of was hoping for them to, at the very least, if they, I understand, I don't understand that there's no reason lore-wise why they would not address the multi-jump situation. Like your bridge crew should be able to schedule multi-jumps. But I can understand from a out of lore wise, just a game mechanics wise, why a game developer might say like, this feels a little scary, like releasing the reins. I think they're going to go with it eventually later down the line, but I get a little whatever. But there, again, on the inexcusable side, it is absolutely inexcusable that I cannot remotely transfer fuel from the cargo bay to the fuel tank. That's just wrong, and eventually I hope that you will fix that because it doesn't make any sense. Another personal disappointment of mine, and this one this one isn't a criticism of Frontier. This was just, I had a guess. I made a bet with Dunkel Aura that they were going to, because the way they worded the previous statement on fuel, they said, hey man, we made tritium consumption twice as efficient. This is the initial step. We're evaluating it to see where we're going to land. And I was like, they're going to move it to 3 times. They're going to move it more. It's going to be more than 2 times. And he's like, nah, you're crazy. It's locked at 2 times. So you're never going to go up. This is not a criticism of Frontier. This is a personal letdown of mine. I bet that they were going to go higher. I lost that bet. I bought Dunkel Aura a brand new Remember Carlos mug from Down to Earth Astronomy's website and had it shipped to him in I'm not going to give details, but in the country where he lives in Europe. And congrats to Dunkel Aura.
Wait, Dunkel is a dude?
Yeah, man. Yeah, he's a dude. Having said that, there were a lot of good things in the sort of fleet carrier drop. There was there was the very, very awesome addition of the CQC stuff. There's some BGS weirdness, and we're going to get into that a little later as well, but there was some weirdness with regard to all of the BGS stuff. There's some stuff that happened in there. First off, the fleet carrier drop pushed the tick back by 16 hours. So that is still as of now, it's 16 hours late, so we're going to have to sort of see if they, at the weekly tick, maybe they go back and sort of manually hard set it back to the right time, or maybe this is just the new reality. The tick now happens at a different time, or I don't know. But there's also some other weirdness going on with that we don't have a clear sort of explanation of right now. In that, there was like on one of the days, like right after, like 2 days after, there was like 4,500 systems in, like 4,500 systems in expansion. Like expansion was just going nuts. Retreats were doing weird things. Like they did some back end stuff to the BGS, which we don't quite know yet what all that was and how it's going to shake out. And that could be problems, or that could be, opportunities. That could be cool stuff. We don't know. We're going to have to see how that shakes out. I did notice that the Kickstarters, the backers on the Kickstarters, man, they got a discount, so they ended up, their final purchase price was 4.85 billion. So they saved what, 150 million?
Verified.
Yeah. So hey, hats off to you guys. Well played, whatever. It's all good. So let's just stop there. And I just went over like the first 3 or 4 things from the fleet carrier drop. Guys, hop in. Roy, what do you got? Fee, what do you got on that?
I'll jump in first. I mean, aside from all the planning and strategizing I had done before the fleet carriers came out, and what I was going to do, I just found myself a bit overcome with, like, this is cool. I had a moment actually of just before they came out, like, I've got enough money to buy one, but do I really want to do this? And I'm going to wait for a while. And then I found myself at the buy screen, and I'm like, oh my God, yes, I want one. And it was like a new toy, and it was so cool. And yeah, there's a few bugs and things, but I just have been having a lot of fun. And there's been some things pop up, and I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but like there's some emergent stuff popping up that I'm just super jazzed that now I get to be a part of. So I've had a great experience with it the last few days.
Right on. Fee?
Yeah, I've been enjoying having the carrier as well, and Tuesday, personally speaking, it's been a hell of a week for me, and going through the perpetual Blackadder-ness of trying to acquire the fleet carrier on Tuesday into Wednesday morning. Was I don't want to say it was traumatic, but
how many times did you take to get your carrier?
I don't even want to. I don't want to talk about it. It was it was traumatic, and we're going to leave it at that. But when I seriously, Wednesday morning Eastern Standard Time in here in the U.S., I got up at 5:30 in the morning and logged in and finally was able to buy my carrier Wednesday morning.
Nice.
And that was a very rewarding experience. And since then, I've really just been enjoying the new dynamic to the game. Just understanding what it means to my gameplay, and what you guys already mentioned. There's definitely been some bugs here and there, but overall, I don't have any complaints. I'm just enjoying having this new toy to play with.
Grover, hop in on this. Tell us what your sort of observations and experiences have been with the fleet carrier drop, with the system, with the game in general, with seeing people use them, etc.
Yeah, well, it's been interesting. I'm one of the plebs that can't afford one, but it's actually been interesting seeing them in game. Frontier seem to do their updates right when I'm about to get online. So it's morning time in the UK, and it's about 7 p.m. here, just when I'm getting ready to jump in. And so the wife was happy because she got a night with me. Well, I had to take the night off to while the servers were down. But yeah, after that couple of days went past, it's been interesting. I've interacted with a few carriers, with some friends who've got them, and I'm more interested to see maybe in about a month's time when they start separating out, because at the moment I'm just filtering carriers out of my navigation.
Now, you can actually do that. You can set it to just filter them out, and then you can just sort of bookmark your handful of them that you're actually interested in, and you can literally just set a permanent thing on your well, until you adjust it. You can set your filters to so that you don't see those if it's just bothering you.
Yeah, no, that's I'll leave it. I think I'm interested to see if they do start spreading out, or if they're just going to be kind of jumping in on all the popular systems, and that's what most people are going to use them for. I'm probably going to be interested in seeing how the people that are supporting exploration are using their carriers. And
Oh yeah, I think
So,
you're going to
so
see a lot of that.
Grover, let me ask you. You started off your reply with saying that you're one of the plebs that does not have the credits for the flea carrier. Is that now something based on all the hype and all the excitement that you're now going to be working towards, or are you still sticking to your guns and focusing on what you were focused on before all this happened?
I can definitely see the value of having a carrier. I think I will get one, but I'm still kind of working my way through the ships. I've only just bought an Anaconda and haven't really pimped it out yet. Just decided I've got enough money to get that. But yeah, so I think I will, but it'll be a little while away.
Right on.
Right on.
So, I sort of classified my experience of the fleet carrier drop as smooth-ish, like smooth adjacent. I mean, I think for the size of all of the stuff that they sort of tweaked and mess around with here, it was a fairly smooth rollout. What do you guys like? I mean, I'll preface this by saying I had to work a lot on sort of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and half of Thursday. I worked long days, and so it was kind of like when Fleet Carriers dropped, I was at work. And then they were like,
Yeah.
oh, the server kind of got delayed in coming back up, which is sort of to be expected, whatever. But I was at work. And then by the time I finally got home late that night, I couldn't get into a system that had a fleet carrier. So I didn't end up buying a fleet carrier until Thursday because it was just like, man, it's too crazy. It's too hectic. It's too busy. I can't get in there. Screw it. I'm just going to, go live my life. And it's like when the new iPhone comes out and there's like a line and like there's 800 people in line and you wait 8 hours and this, that, and the other and whatever. But if you like show up 5 days later, you just walk right up to the counter and get it and walk out. That was my experience in buying my fleet carrier. I jumped into that Skegeko O, that one that's like one jump away from Jameson's. I jumped in there Thursday night, like later in the night, like 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time to be clear. So like 11 o'clock at night, I jumped in there and there was plenty of room in the system. I clicked buy a carrier. It did not pop up a system over. It popped up right there in the system. I flew out to it. I bought all the livery that I wanted for it. I bought all the, services that I wanted for it. And then I left. It was just, no fuss, no muss. What was your guys' experience of the actual rollout?
I bought mine maybe earlier in the day than you did, so I had a bit of the Blackadder thing. It probably took me an hour and a half, which admittedly, I think I had a better go of it than a lot of people did. It only took me about an hour and a half. So I was, chatting on Discord and kept trying to buy and logged in and logged out. And there was lots of, people trying to offer advice about should you reboot your game or just, keep trying. And it took about 90 minutes and then I got my carrier. And from that point on, other than the other bugs we might talk about, from that point on, it was pretty straightforward. Like there wasn't any major sort of choke point kind of slowdowns aside from that.
Fee?
Yeah, I touched on it earlier. I'm not going to lie. I was like the kid the night before Christmas, leading up to Tuesday's launch, and watching Steam for the updates and everything that was going on there. I gotta admit, I was certainly excited. I was a little frustrated with the fact that everything didn't go as smoothly as is to be expected. But at the same time, based on my career in IT, I've been in IT since before Google was a thing. I understand how things like this don't go smooth, and I understand how there are challenges. I never, ever, ever got salty. I never got pissed off at FDev. I never, ever was completely frustrated where I wanted to just uninstall the game and go play insert space sim here other game. I really just was patient. I knew that these guys were doing the best they could, and again, likewise, that was why 5:30 a.m. Wednesday morning I logged in. I purchased my fleet carrier and I was happy. It's just a video game, and really, no complaints. It's these guys are doing the best they can.
Right on, right on. So, all right, so that kind of covers that. Like the rollout, it's been okay. I mean, it's been I think for
Well,
as big
I mean,
as
what are we comparing it against? What are we comparing it against? Right? Like, is it the September rollout? Are we comparing it against?
God, it's a billion times better. I like I said, I think it's been, considering how much they had to do, it's been fairly smooth. So that's okay. So let's get into the thing that we sort of were waiting to see. Because they slipped up and sort of announced that, like, yeah, man, the ones that you see around the dockyards are going to be the ones that you can get from the livery, and sure enough, that's what we've got. So we've got the Victory class, which is the hammerhead shark. It's like a moai strapped to the front of a fleet carrier. We've got the Nautilus class. That's the one I went with, which looks like the 2001, where you've got the sort of rounded front that that awesome iconic look. And then we've got the, what was the other one? The Neptune, which is the one that kind of has,
Yep.
yeah, it looks to me that, and again, this is just personal preference, but it looks to me like the Neptune is like it's waiting for like something to Voltron onto the front of it, and then it's gonna go. But like, it's at the same time, it's it's got an aesthetic. It's cool. Everybody's gonna have their type that they like.
A little bit like you run out of Lego when you're building it, isn't it?
Yeah, or whatever. But I mean, there's people that like the minimalist look, so right on. The if you notice here, there's many different paint jobs that you can get, but this is the one that I got for my Nautilus that's on screen now, and man, I think it looks so sharp. It looks so good.
Some of those paint jobs are pretty crazy. I'm wondering if they took like the Cobra. Some of them look, honestly, to me like they took the flag paint jobs from the Cobra and put them over a fleet carrier. Like, there was such a interesting choices around stripes and bars and
yeah, those salvage ones are
kind of a riot of color on some of those paint jobs.
Yeah,
No complaints though.
No, it's good.
No. It's bold. I like it. It's tough choice, right? Like, a lot of these things are very bold and interesting, and I like that better than just a color wash or solid colors, that sort of thing. So
I will point
kudos.
out one thing on a lot of the fleet carriers. So like, if you look here, you see mine shows it's Elite Week 1, and it's got that little star formation. But on a lot of the different designs, depending on your paint job or whatever, if you look in spots, there's places where you can see on it like an Empire logo. And I know there's some people that have posted on the forums already like, I do not like that. I don't support the Empire. I'm Federation. Or other people, like one guy posted saying like, I do not support the Empire. Oh yeah, there's the Empire logo right there on mine. Under the name, you see the little Empire logo on there, and they're like, hey man, I'm using this as part of the DSSA. It's important to me for in-lore reason or whatever that my ship be neutral and welcome all sort of explorers. I don't like that, so I think you're going to see maybe an option for fixing that so that the player can control all of that. Yeah, for sure. Even looking through the chat here, I'm seeing from people, Mgram, it's way smoother than, the September update. So yeah. But
if they wanted to generate some um, opportunity for people to buy things, I'm surprised there isn't more decal
yes,
locations.
absolutely. There should, if they wanted to make money, it's just a smart move to like add decals in there that you can buy and and sell that, push that. But also it's very, very important at the very least that you give players who don't want to show any of that an opportunity, or to have something neutral that
Yeah.
they, you might have an AXI guy who's like, hey man, we don't get into the Empire Federation bit. We're just all bug killers of whatever group you're in, and whatever. Or you might have an exploration guy, or whatever. Or you could have a guy that's just super hardcore Fedi or super hardcore Alliance, and he's like, you know, he's like, that's just a situation where like we don't want to get involved in that. I don't support that. I'm anti that. I'm on the other side entirely, and you're making me sort of go that way. So that's an important thing. Um, Looking at a note here that I have, let's see. Players must go to a station with a Brewer Corporation carrier's contract. They can purchase the carrier from the contact. These stations will also include a carrier diadrac uh, body site where players can choose the design of the carrier. Carriers can only be purchased at the following locations. I think what they're talking about there, Mgram, is they're saying that's where you can get the livery to choose the body types. But I've got the Nautilus. I've seen another one that had the Victory class, and they all seem to have. Maybe it's based on where we bought them. Like the station that we bought them was controlled by the Empire or whatever. But I've seen multiple ones now with the Empire, or maybe it's just Brewer Corporation is sort of an Empire.
Yeah,
System.
actually, I'm thinking, Kai, from what I've seen, and maybe I'm totally wrong, but from what I've seen, where your carrier is parked is how that is reflected. So when I first jumped into, as an example, was it Ross 310, where Loose Screws lives? I showed up as an independent. When I moved into Ross 719, where I am now, I'm now a Federation.
That makes sense
Carrier.
because there is a thing here. There's a menu where it shows like, hey, this is the system you're in, and this is the whatever. So yeah, that's probably what it is. All right, so let's get into the other livery options here. They had an option, and I don't know why, because you never see these things go, but they had an option where you could pick the color of your engines, and you can tell by looking at the way I set mine up, man. I was like all about it. So I got my pretty blue sort of engines that to me it looks like from the Expanse, it looks like the proto-molecule, and I was like, yeah, I gotta have that one. The one that looks like the proto-molecule looks cool. And then there was a thing where you can choose the color of your little landing pad jobby, and I chose a bright one just to be bright there. I've noticed, the one thing I have noticed is if you chose I think it's the purple, if you choose the purple landing pad thing, there's a weird sort of bug or
Easter egg?
yeah, Easter egg, whatever, that is where the O from that is like green and the 7 is purple. So that's that's an interesting little thing.
Yeah, I started with a blue color scheme similar to yours, and I actually switched to the purple to take advantage of that Easter egg because it appeared to only come up with one of the color choices so far.
Okay, let's see here. Let's see. All right. Now, the last option that they had in the livery was that you could choose the voice of your air traffic controller. So that's a thing. I chose Yumi because it's like you have to pick one, and for me, it just seemed like, I don't know. For ship voices or ship things, I know that this is technically an air traffic controller, so it's a person. But for ship stuff, it's like it seems, going back to Star Trek days, it's like if the ship's talking to you, it seems like it should be a woman's voice. I don't know. It seems weird, but
I
yeah.
went with Madeline.
Right on. So another woman's voice. What did you pick,
Yes.
Fee?
Oh, I stayed stuck. Absolutely.
Okay.
I wanted that War Games experience, and it was good to finally have the voice that reminds me of
Warp. It was Whopper. Whopper. Shall we play
Whopper.
a game?
Yeah,
Whopper.
but it wasn't even Whopper. It was Jonas. No, what was his name? Come on, somebody help me out here.
Jonas was the name of the son. Professor.
Yeah, what was Professor Falcon's son's name? It wasn't Jonas.
It was Jeremy. It was
No.
with,
Yeah, come on, somebody can do this.
all right, just give us the answer.
No, I don't remember. I'm asking.
Okay. It's whatever. Yes, I remember it was one of the passwords. Professor Falcon made a backdoor password, and it was his son's name, and it was something with a J. It was like Jonas or Jeremy or Jonathan. Jonathan, maybe.
I predict no, it's not Jonathan. I predict multiple people are currently Googling feverish.
Beautiful. So we'll let them answer. So those are, these are all kinds of cool sort of livery, interesting.
Joshua?
There you go, Joshua. A bunch of different sort of livery options that were available. So that was interesting. Anything strike? So I got the Nautilus. Which one did you get, Fee?
I went Hammerhead.
Victory?
Yeah,
okay.
Yep, Victory.
And what about you, Roy?
I went Victory as well.
2 victories and a Nautilus. All right. Well, you guys are the plebs because I got the big one. It's just all personal.
It was a
aesthetics,
tough
man.
choice. It was a tough choice, and I might change. I might change in the future. We'll see.
Right on. So what all did you guys think about the? We're not going to get into the pricing part of it. We'll just talk about the actual options itself. What did you guys think? And more importantly, didn't it seem a little weird to you guys that it didn't show like, hey, this is a Nautilus ship kit or this is a Victory ship kit? It literally changes the class of your fleet carrier.
Yeah,
and
that's an odd choice.
Yeah, man. To me, that seems like, what are you doing there? That's like, oh, okay, so what you're saying is there's not going to be other fleet carrier classes? Like, it's not when they first said in the first trailer, in the first announcement, this is a Drake class carrier, I was all about it because I was like, okay, they literally said this is the X, like this is the Corvette, or this is the Cutter, or this is the Cobra. It's like, okay, so there's going to be more of these, and maybe we can get one that's bigger and has, more storage, but like poorer jump range. Or maybe we get a smaller one that has, way cheaper, but has less jump range and storage, but it's super, super cheap. It's kind of more affordable. Or maybe we get one that's massive, that's made for squadrons. And, somebody just shot at my fleet carrier, and they're getting lit up. I love that. Every once in a while, just one of the NPCs will shoot at your fleet carrier, and then your fleet carrier just goes, "Oh yeah, how about this?" and then just deletes them. But it's a neat little light show. So what did you guys make of that? The sort of choice to.
It's like they've changed the paradigm of what the name means, as opposed to just putting kits on a given name, and I'm not sure why. I don't know if there's something coming that's going to explain that, but it seems a bit
weird.
Weird. Yeah, that's I didn't see the reason for it. What does it gain them? I guess is what I'd ask. Is from a marketing standpoint, or I don't know. Like what does that gain them by taking up names of a class to make it be the kit?
Yeah. For me, I mean, it basically simplifies the build. Right, you've taken it from that initial trailer, like you mentioned, Kai, where we have perceptively or perceivably a build which is customized for a particular role, whether it's mining or exploring or combat, whatever. And we think that we are going to acquire a fleet carrier that is designed for that role and have capabilities around that role to simply just, and I hate to do this, but basically just applying a skin that just gives a perceived role right? There's nothing really behind it. It's all superficial, and then whatever we do with it is really kind of generic. In other words, it almost seems like they've sterilized or neutered the role aspect of the fleet carrier.
You know, I would love to see some options of livery that are not just, even if you have to pay for it with ARCs, even if you have to buy it with ARCs, I would love to see one that you also have to earn. I am a king for the Empire. I went above being a duke to get the cutter. I went 2 ranks above that. I am a king. I should be able to have a cool, special, either ship kit or paint job or something that is only for kings, only for people that went full on Empire. I am an admiral with the
want your
Federation.
bling.
I would love to have something there. We have with us in the chat, we've got Mgram from the AXI. I think those guys, those AXI guys that do that crazy, crazy high level stuff, that, you know, there should be some kind of a thing where it's like, oh, you've killed this many interceptors, or you've done some level of something where it's like it rewards you and says, okay,
Where's the
you get a special
Where-
AXI fleet carrier paint job that no one else can have.
or where's the dash bobblehead equivalent for the fleet carrier? You know, the bomber patches on the side, or the things that you've done, or assigning a certain role. Like, I don't know, maybe it's coming in the future, but there's a few elements of livery that they've left out here that maybe they're still working on. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean that has been my, watching the forum posts and the discussions in various discords and everything else that's happened since Tuesday. That has been the one thing that I kind of find myself going back to day after day, which is, this is only the beginning, right? Let's go back to 2015 when the game started and where we were at and how much things have changed now in 2020. I think now that 2020 has happened and fleet carriers have dropped, and yes, we have a capability with these fleet carriers. I think, again, I'm being the optimist, but I think they very much can do these things, and really, we based on what we've seen with the ships that we have and the builds that we have, we will see modifications, because again, the other thing that Frontier is really good at, and we'll probably talk about this later, is listening to all of us give our voice and talk about the things that we would see that would make the game better.
Sometimes they're good at it.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
when they are,
50-50,
I love it. And when they're
60-40,
not,
70-30.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let's look at some of the other things that are in this. And we have a unique opportunity because we have Mgram with us in the chat. So I'm going to bring up, they specifically say in the notes, in the patch notes for the, for the patch, they say on there that they took another swing at trying to get the, what do you call it? The invulnerable heart bug and, some of the AX stuff. So we're going to talk about some other things, but while Mgram catches up in the, in the chat on the delay, they added also, I know for a fact that they added in there, the ability to queue for CQC from the main game. They added in there an ability where you can block anyone regardless of whether or not they're on your friends list. And that is a huge thing for the Care Bears, because I play in open. I like mixing it up with gankers and whatever. That's just me. I'm not telling anyone else how they should play their game or how they should have their fun. The fact is, the gankers say, hey man, we like doing this. We like killing people. We like blowing people up. And they have every right to their gameplay, to play how they wish, whether or not I agree with their choices or whatever. But the Care Bears also have just as much right. I'm kind of neutral. I'm between them. But the Care Bears have just as much right to say, we don't want to deal with you. So it literally is in a situation now. Let's be honest. If you were to block, say, 50 or 60 names, just pull up a list from, I know there's different discords. I'm not in those ones, but I know there's discords where they link everyone. Oh, this guy killed this guy in this system. This guy killed that guy. This guy killed this guy. If you were to go through and pull out the top, say, 100 names, take 10 minutes and just type them all into your little block list, I don't think you'd be ganked anymore. I think it would literally just fix that. which I, even though it's super easy to do, I will not do that. I like the spice of dealing with those people, but I'm not saying that everyone has to play the way I do. So the fact
Yeah,
that, go ahead.
I feel like it's a progression, right? Like I, as someone who started the game, I mean, yes, I played it 5 years ago, but I didn't really get into it until January. And as someone who's working their way up through the ranks of all the different things you can do in this game, I'm now playing it open, but when I first played, I felt like I'm not going to be competitive unless I've unlocked a few engineers and done a few things. Like it's a progression, right? It's a progression. So I could see where it's a thing you work towards, as opposed to so much of a worldview about how to play the game.
Yeah. Fee?
Yeah, in my opinion, Elite is Elite does not have a community problem in game like other games. I will say full disclosure. I also play World of Tanks, and World of Tanks is just about the shittiest community you could ever have. I have never seen a bigger group of assholes in the game in any game that I've ever played, and this Elite does not have that problem. Now, granted, you may find yourself, because you spend time in specific systems where there are specific opportunities for you to become a victim of said assholes who may still be lurking within this game. But I will tell you that for as long as I've been playing this game, I have not had an asshole problem. I have not had a problem where I need a blacklist, like I have in World of Tanks. World of Tanks requires that you blacklist and even report people for inappropriate behavior. This game does not necessarily have that. Granted, there are gankers, and Kai, I'm with you. If somebody's going to gank me, chances are I was at the wrong place at the wrong time, and it just happened, and I need to make sure I've got the credits for rebuy, and that's all there is to it. I'm not totally butthurt when that happens. I just need to learn to play Elite Dangerous the way that Elite Dangerous should be played if I'm going to be in that part of space. And that's it. Overall, I don't have a problem.
Okay. Grover, how do you feel on it?
Yeah, I agree. Like, having bought it a long time ago, but yeah, similarly, only really getting into it since January. I haven't found a problem. And I started out playing on private servers and the learning a little bit about it. So that option's there for anybody. But it was since I started listening to Loose Screws and some of the other content creators who were talking about the difference between open. Now I just play on open all the time. So it also helps that I'm in a different time zone. So all the gankers are asleep when I'm playing. So.
Right on. Yeah. Right on. Okay.
I think there's also a big difference between. I could see. I'm not going to try to prescribe what other people feel, but for me personally, if I was playing solo, that would be not solo as a game mode, but if I was just playing this game, not affiliating with anyone, that would be a very different experience than the affiliations I have. So when I play the game, I'm talking to people on Discord. Like there's a community around me. So when I'm doing things or we're going to go somewhere, I'm never alone, right? So even the experiences I've had that did involve gankers since January, it was because we put ourselves in those situations. We, like me and whoever else we were playing with at the moment, and it's sort of like, I think it's a truism that when you're thinking about these sort of things in the abstract, in reality they're never as good or never as bad as you think. It's somewhere in the middle. And what I found was the situations we played in where we went after some of these we intentionally went after gankers, and it sort of developed an interesting truce where they're doing their thing, and some of them were role playing, some of them weren't, and we're doing our thing. Like, okay, we're going to shut you down if you're trying to do this thing here, and we went at it, and nobody got bent out of shape, and it was some interesting emergent gameplay, and maybe I've stumbled upon some slice of this that was better than many other people's experience, but it wasn't as upsetting as some of the things I'd imagined in my mind as how it could be, as how it could play out.
Right on. But for those people who are just dead set against the whole thing and they want to go super Care Bear and they want to eliminate that from their life, you have the option. Frontier have given you the tool. Take it and go do your thing. Go make yourself happy. I have got reports now from Mgram that this is the 4th time they've taken a swing at dealing with that invulnerable heart bug, and it still doesn't seem to have been fixed. So here's the thing. On the one hand, I would really prefer it had been fixed, that they were successful. But the fact that this is literally 4 times in a row, they just keep each patch. Okay, what about this? What about that? It shows they're not quitting. They're going to just keep plugging away at it until they get it. They will get it. It may be that they get it, but at some point by the end of the year, whatever. Or it may be that it doesn't come until Odyssey. And at that point, with the code refresh, they fix whatever the hell spaghetti code that is that's causing this problem that seems to be such a devil to fix, and they get it sorted. So fingers crossed. Now, let's look into the next question, and I'm going to skip one and go down to, but who is it for? I remember hearing people being, but who is it for? Really, who wants them? Nobody wants a fleet carrier. It's whatever. I remember hearing all of that jazz a couple months back, and here's the thing I have. But who is it for? Well, apparently many, 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 many people, based on the fact that as of this morning, Inara was showing over 5,000 people had one registered. Like it was like 5,300 had registered one already. And this is the first week of it. So like we're literally 3-4 days in. Like, yeah, thousands of people. That's who it's for. People that are more imaginative than you, or more industrious and willing to, go and do a thing. So for all of those, but who is it for people? The answer is lots of people. And if it's not for you, great. Move on with your life. You guys got any thoughts on that?
What percentage? I mean, do you have any stats on like concurrent player, like a percentage, like of what this represents?
No. I mean, it's hard to really break out, and it actually not hard, but impossible unless you're Frontier to really get that answer. Because if you look at all the different systems, and then you've got PC players, you've got Steam players, which are different than PC players in that some Steam players are PC players, but not all PC players are Steam players. There are people that go through Steam, and there are people that go through just straight through FDev. Then you've got Xbox, then you've got PlayStation. It's all over the place. I don't know.
I can imagine people thinking like, is this a thing that 1% has, or 10% has, or 25% has?
Well, I think that by the very nature of it, by the nature of the cost of it, it's going to be your 1%ers. It's going to be your top of the top. But the fact of the matter is, as has been demonstrated many times, we're going to get to this shortly, has been demonstrated multiple times. If you want it and you're going to go out and grind for it, you can get it.
That's the weird part, right? Is I can imagine playing this game casually, and obviously you're not going to have the money for it, but at the same time, if you want to grind out a long weekend,
you can. And here's the other truth. The other, sort of natural truth of the universe is, and I've said this so many times in the last month, it is much more fun to be a guy whose friend has a fishing boat than it is to be the guy who has to maintain a fishing boat. So if you are casual, great, then be casual and enjoy using all of the fleet carriers that all of these other people are bringing to you. So that's awesome. Or enjoy the fact that the DSSA has these out there that you can go out and be an explorer and just use the DSSA's, fleet carriers. Or enjoy the fact that the fuel grets and the hull seals now have opportunities and abilities to use to make things better for you with that. Enjoy you could make a ton of money just being a guy who gets together with some friends in Type 9s, goes out, either buys or mines and fills up on tritium, and then just goes
Oh
out and
yeah.
delivers to people that are stranded at a massive markup. There's all kinds of things you can do. So, yeah, that's good stuff. All right, let's move it along though, because there's so much more stuff we got to get to today. So that's the who is it for? Let's talk about one guy who it's for. Let's talk about one smart, handsome devil that went out there and got it done. There's a guy, and I don't know who it was, but so let's say gal. Gal, whatever. There's a person, there's a commander who went out, flew out legit to the Anaconda graveyard, however long ago, a week ago, a month ago, whatever, got himself stranded out there, or herself stranded out there, but scanned. There's a cluster. There's like a couple systems there that you could scan. Went and scanned every planet, mapped them, did all of the stuff for that whole little cluster, and then just said, okay, I'm stranded here, and waited. And day one of, hey, fleet carriers are a thing, they got either a friend or their own whatever, somebody got a fleet carrier, jumped up there and rescued them. And they turned in their universal cartographic data, and they legit became the first legit person, not the scammer dude who got Frontier to move them in. And I don't know, I haven't gotten the full story, so I hope that Frontier went back and expunged that data, because that should not have ever existed. But someone did it legit. So big salute to you for legit getting all of that data and bringing it back. That's cool as shit, man. That's right. Isn't that super deep?
I'm a little upset, but that's pretty smart. That's kudos. Yeah, that's really smart.
Yeah.
Well played.
Right on. Right on. So looking over, there are some definite gripes and questions on the fleet carriers. You know, there's people that say, like, why do I have to put a percentage of my combat bonds? Why can't I transfer the fuel remotely? That's my big one. Why can't I choose the stock manually? That on there, I had been a big proponent of saying, like, well, when we get base building, we're going to get the ability to manufacture our stuff and then we'll sell it. Ugh, you can't do that. So, okay. All right, whatever. There's some stuff with fleet carriers, like the whole sales thing is borked. They need to fix it, and now that we know that they're not having base building, we presume that we're not having manufacturing, which means that there's sort of no excuse for that. That was poorly designed from the top, and there's just no excuse. The inability to move your fuel from one place to another on your own ship, when you have a dedicated crew that gets paid all that money, there's no excuse.
The main I agree with all that. It's it feels like it's now the appendix of the fleet carrier. Like it has no use.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to the next point on the list here. The new BORANN. Everybody was, oh my God, we're losing BORANN. It'll never ever come back. Oh, what will we do? Set your hair on fire. And within 24 hours, literally, it was like 9 hours, 10 hours after the system finally came back up and was stable, was able to stay up, they were like, oh yeah, Cold 285, Sector CC-K, A38-2, Planet 1, Ring B. And it's like, boop, here is the new triple LTD hotspot. It is amazing. It is, it literally is just, it's better than BORANN. You have, if you look at the overlap of the 60s, you literally have an amazing 70% plus area that is just it's just too good. It's just too good. Now, it's what, 250 light years from Sol ish. It's one hop in a fleet carrier, and people are doing it. If you want to do it without a fleet carrier, yeah, it's going to take you a few jumps. And as we look, there's going to be more people finding more stuff. But for now, if you look on the screen right there, that is just a absolute no-brainer. That is an awesome place if you want to farm low temperature diamonds. The main thing is, I think LTDs, we're going to see them continue to decline, and we're going to see them sort of settle into a rate. I think what the stuff that they did back in January was all built around the idea of like nerfing the sort of superiority of one type of mining. At that point, it was all about painite. And before that, it was void opals. You know, we got to go get this. They made a concerted effort to try to attack that, and we were starting down the road of like, oh, they're nerfing this, they're nerfing that. I thought we were going to get to a point of not just, okay, I'm going to farm in BORANN, I'm going to get this one thing all day, every day. I thought they were going to get to the point of like you log in every day and have to kind of look and see like, okay, what's the thing to sell right now? What is the thing that we want? Oh, it's benditoite today. Oh, it's alexandrite today. Oh, it's, low temperature diamonds today. Oh, it's void opals. Like, I thought it was going to be like a more dynamic, you have to kind of play the puzzle. You have to look and see what's selling the best that day and then go farm that one thing up, or use your fleet carrier to like farm up, 3,000 tons of alexandrite, benditoite, serendipite, whatever, void opals, low temperature diamonds, painite, all these different things, alexander, and then just sell on whatever day is hot. But they sort of kept low temperature diamonds artificially buffed when everything else took massive nerfs. And I'm wondering if now that fleet carriers are out, I'm wondering, like, did they do that just so they could kind of help the people along that were trying to farm their for their fleet carriers? Are they going to now fix that and be like, okay, no more of that. Now we're going to put in the new system, or will we see sort of LTDs get back some strength and kind of remain this one thing that seems to be artificially buffed and is the only thing to farm? What do you guys think? Let's start with Grover. Do you have any feelings on this new spot and LTDs and whatnot?
Yeah, well, it seems that almost Tritium is a new LTD, isn't it? At the moment, there's a lot of people finding different ways to make money.
Oh yeah,
I do like the idea of a flexible market that you have to actually pay attention to, and it's not just, okay, I'm going to go out to my normal spot and mine because I need a bit of money because I want to outfit a new anaconda or something. So I do like that. It's I'm guessing all the people that have been at BORANN for the last month are my people, the poor ones that have been trying to save up for the fleet carriers. But it's an interesting kind of dynamic. Once you do start getting a little bit of money, when I first got my first billion, I'm like, oh, now I want 2 billion. So I can see the psyche of people just wanting to build up their bank as well.
Okay. Fee, Roy?
Yeah, I'll weigh in here. I mean, my perspective on this, especially after a few days of playing with the fleet carrier, has been that, I'm almost wondering, Kai, if based on what we're seeing here, the fact that we all have fleet carriers now, or a bunch of us have fleet carriers now, is that we now have the opportunity to manipulate the market beyond what is being set by the galactic average, right? We've got the ability to go out to a set of rings and mine everything if we want, and then sell those things at a rate that we choose to, and basically inject some dynamics into the global market or the galactic market that is not there currently with the existing station economy. And so I'm curious to see how, if anybody is going to want to dip their toe into that pool and see if they want to manipulate those markets. So I think, there is the opportunity for us to just stay with the safe LTD and Void Opal and Painite and whatever else has been, what the nice safe space has been in mining and selling and buying. Like Grover says, though, Tritium has definitely introduced another variable into that equation, and we're already seeing that play out. It'll be curious to see if people decide to now play with the rest of the market, with their fleet carrier, with their commodity trading capability, to see if they want to do that. And that's actually what I've been trying to do this week since I got the carrier, is just mess within the system that I'm in, playing with the stations that are in that system, and just kind of seeing if I can manipulate that local economy with what is available, what I can buy and sell, and use my carrier to see if I can actually, do some sort of market influence there. So I think there's a lot of possibility there, but it really depends on how much people are willing, players, not NPCs, players are willing to start to manipulate that economy based on what we can buy and sell with our fleet carriers.
Roy?
It's early days, but some of the obvious moves that have happened is, LT Diamond's got a haircut, Void Opal's got a boost. So right now, I think one of the things that got corrected that I think a lot of people felt in principle should have been corrected is that core mining is the most valuable because it's the most effort, and that's happened. I think the other thing too is if you look at some of the, I've just been clicking through the excellent tool at the miners tool, and I think the thing that's changed here is because of the haircut LT got. At least all the other commodities have risen to the point where you're not going to throw them away. You're not going to avoid them. Like if you get them in a mix, it's not quite at the point, I think, where you'd want to intentionally go for a portfolio of mining results, but it's getting there. The other thing I'd say is, to what Kiwi brought up, there's a gold rush right now on Tritium. And I think we're going to talk about this perhaps.
Why don't you lead us into it? Go for it.
Well, okay. So the emergent, and I saw this come up in the chat too. Someone asked about what's the other emergent. Let me look here. Who was it? Who brought that? Finnegan brought this up. What's the emergent gameplay that's come up besides DSSA? Well, the thing that kind of caught us by surprise was this is speculation at this point. It's only a few data points, but it appears that there's an interplay between tritium prices and the BGA. So we found lots of systems where, for some reason, the price of tritium is drastically depressed.
Oh, I can tell you why. It's the system states. If you have one, I think there was a list. I forgot where it's like, find one that's in like famine or
blight.
Blight. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that anyone anticipated the range that we would see. So now we have a whole slew. You go on EDDB, and kudos to those guys and gals for keeping that on track with this so quickly. We have systems that are, selling it for 2,000 now, it's even gotten more extreme since the last 2 days. It was 4,000 a couple of days ago, 2,000, and now you can sell it in various places. The short list is like over 400,000, and there's a longer list of like 200,000 or 160,000. You can go ahead. I was gonna say you could. I mean, the short story here is you could sell if you could find the correct demand with that kind of a spread. That's like 8 billion credits for a fleet carrier full of tritium to sell it. I mean, if you take advantage of that arbitrage, so. That's amazing. That's totally fun. And the other sort of emergent gameplay that's evolved is now you've got a pack of fleet carriers in a system and a lot of other people loading those fleet carriers because the fleet carriers are setting up that price on the market to make it worth their time. And then in the opposite system, a lot of people unloading that fleet carrier to go sell it, and they're going to get a slice of that price, and the fleet carrier owner gets the, whatever percentage of that arbitrage they set up between the sell and the buy price.
Let me make a supposition or a hypothesis, and let me just urge you to listen carefully to this, because I I have some confidence that this is the case. Gather ye rosebuds while ye may, because you're going to see sort of that market to a massive extent dry up. You're going to see it normalize. You're going to see the highs come down. You're going to see the lows go up, and there's a certain aspect of, they knew that everybody was going to have brand new carriers. They knew that those people were going to need to fuel them up. They did not want to hear a long list of complaints from everyone going, it's too hard. So they made a special going into business introductory sale of a massive amount, and they totally messed with Tritium artificially to make it easy for us to start. That is going to normalize, and when it does, that market, that opportunity, that emergent gameplay is going to go away. But other things will pop up in their place, as you just said, as the mineral sort of markets become a more sort of mature, as other things, we've got a new, NANOMED, and as other things come into play, you're going to see other things. But just don't. Tritium is crazy, stupid, big money right now, but it's short money. So get it, have fun with it, guys, and it's going away. So get it while you can.
I have this mental image of, I don't know if it's Braben or someone else, sort of steepling their fingers and doing a Mr. Burns, watching this emergent gameplay, even if it's short-lived. They're like, excellent.
Excellent.
Like, when was the last time this happened? This is really, really amazing.
For sure. Fee? Grover?
Yeah, I real quick, and Grover, I'll give you the floor. But my play, I agree with you guys. I think this is short lived. Frankly though, my perspective on sort of gold rush associated with Tritium, I would say that it would benefit folks like Grover, because they are trying to get that credit pool that they really need. Speaking personally, having over $1 billion not only in my personal stock but also now deposited in my carrier, credits are kind of a non-issue for me at this point. Granted, I could still build them up, but I'm really not focused on, I'm at the end game spot from a credit perspective. So I really don't have a desire at this point to run off to the new BORANN or play this Tritium gold rush, because I've got enough credits for rebuys. I've got enough credits to support my upkeep beyond just a weekly kind of mission thing. So I'm good, but I could see that somebody like a Grover who wants to build up a credit pool to get a fleet carrier or build out their fleet would want to take advantage of that. So I'm good.
Right on.
Yeah, I think if we look at any new player coming into the game and what they want to do, just having that there as an option, just to level the playing field a little bit, I think is a good thing. We can go out and grind money, but it may not have anything to do with your gameplay. So for me, it'd be nice to get a carrier. I'm not in any hurry, and actually with the changes in the decommissioning of carriers are actually fairly risk-free in terms of getting it and deciding, actually, I don't really use it. I'll just trade it back in and get my money back.
Fair. All right, so moving on to the next point on the list here, we've got, there was a GALNET article that dropped on June the 9th with the fleet carrier patch. June the 9th, 3306, VITADYNE NANOMED. Now, just to give you a little context, this is literally the wrap-up to a series of GALNET stories that started in January of 3305. So we are now 18 months later getting the end of that story. And just to kind of sum up the story from January 12th of 3305 of 2019. The TLDR version is there was this group. They found like a salvage ship that was wrecked from Pranav Antal's group, their Tech Utopia. And that group sold it to some scientist guys. Those scientist guys went in a lab and reverse engineered this nanomed and made like this super med that like this medicine fixes everything. It doesn't matter what it is, it fixes it. It's like something out of the Twilight Zone before you find out like, it kills you. But it's like super stuff. And then there was like a whole legal battle where like Pranav Antal's group of like tech utopian hippies sued and said like, you can't, you're violating our intellectual property rights or whatever. And so the end result is, I guess the judge ruled in favor of the VITADYNE corporation, and they are now putting out these nanomeds. So this GALNET article, which dropped on the day of the Fleet Carrier patch, accompanied a brand new rare good that is sold in the Kumo system that is this super medicine, which will like be in high demand for places that are in outbreak or you know, whatever. It fixes all ailments, whatever. It's kind of a crazy big deal. It's the first GALNET article in a long time, like a long time. And B, it's a new rare good, which is, you know, always interesting and always like changes the dynamics and whatnot. And it interacts in interesting ways with several system states. And here's the other thing that's a little weird. Like, Frontier said, hey man, we're taking GALNET down. We're not going to mess with the fluff. We're only going to deal with actual serious important stuff that ties to the game directly. Well, you can say that this ties to the game directly in that it is a sort of rare good. It is a special commodity, but normally when you would get something like this, you would feel like, okay, there's a CG or an II, there's a community goal or an interstellar initiative just around the corner. They're about to kick it up. And there's been some rumors, there's been some things where people are like, hey man, I feel like we're going to get one in a week or two, we're going to get one soon, a month, whatever. They're setting up the stage for this stuff. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, I gotta say, you know, Tuesday morning, the first thing I noticed before I was even able to get to a system where I could buy a fleet carrier was the fact that there was new GALNET content. And I said, you know what? The night that Kai and Roy and I got on Elite Week and Galactic Water Cooler and said, Frontier, you got to bring this back. They actually listened. They brought the stories back. We did our job, guys. We did what.
That was us. Done. Wow, that wasn't the 9 million other people going.
Come on, virtual high five, guys. We did it. Virtual high five.
Mission accomplished.
Right on. All right, Roy, your thoughts? That it was
this
clearly
is
all
random.
us.
Yeah. So like this is a bit random, but when I first saw that pop up, honestly, the first thing that went through my mind, I didn't know all the backstory about this being a continuation from before, and maybe it was something in the queue that they just pushed out. But honestly, the first thing that jumped in my mind was, nanomedicines. Does that have something to do with space legs? Like, is this something that enables? I don't know. It's a bit random. But...
Dude, no, actually, it's not random at all. Think it through. If in all those FPS games and all those first-person shooter games, you get, it's like, okay, I shot a thing. Oh, I broke a crate. What do I get? Okay, this one has ammo. Oh, this one has a new gun. Oh, this one's got the med pack. The med pack cures all. Yeah, health potion. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man, that's a very astute point.
Went. Yeah.
What do you think, Grover? What do you think about the nanomed situation?
Yeah, no, I saw it drop with the carrier drop, and I was more interested in that, to be honest. I thought, yeah, about time, and I really do hope. That was one of my first thoughts, that maybe a CG's around the corner, and I really do hope, just for the sake of the community, because we've waited for a long time, and we've we've had our say about the lack of GALNET now, and it'd just be nice to give the community something to work towards or against, or just be part of.
Right on, right on. Here's the other thing that I found super sort of weird about the announcement. You know, Stephen Benedetti even went and posted on the forum saying, "Hey, this is confirming GALNET will still cover significant in-game events and news." And it occurred to me, are you saying that fleet carriers aren't significant? What the hell, man? Like, is
Yeah.
is it just me, or does somebody else feel like, you know, I think the newspaper should write a story about this brewer corporation. I think they're going places. If five, okay, let's do the math real quick. Just let's actually do this, because this will be fun. If and we're just going to take the number as of in the morning. If 5,200 players spent, let's conservatively say they spent 7 billion, because if you really go hard at it and get all the stuffs, let's see, that's million, so that would be 3.64 e to the 12th. Yo, this number's so big there's letters involved, okay? That's all. The Brewer Corporation had a pretty good couple of fucking days, and you would think that a newspaper somewhere might say, "Hey man, these guys made some money this week, don't you think?"
Yeah, Kai, I actually had a similar thought earlier today, and it goes back to those individuals, not including myself, but those individuals like Drew Wagar, who have been involved in this game for a very long time and who have contributed to the lore piece of this for a very long time. I'm curious to get their take on the introduction of fleet carriers into the story, and whether or not they feel like it is something that should ultimately be there. And kind of going back to what you're just talking about with bringing this all into GALNET, pulling the fleet carriers into the lore, pulling the fleet carriers into the story, and start to talk about how, again, those changes to the dynamic happen because of the fleet carriers now being present in the game. And granted, this is the first week and things have to settle out, but it will be interesting to see whether or not they add those to the capabilities of the Empire and the Federation and the Alliance and the independent groups themselves, or if they just kind of make it an element based on the Pilots Federation. I think going back to what you mentioned around GALNET and the overarching story within the game, it definitely does deserve to be built into that. And I agree with you. It should have been introduced, or it should be introduced soon.
Okay. I have a question about this. Like, should the real life things that pace how game elements are added in be in lockstep with how lore elements roll out? Meaning,
so the answer,
sorry, go ahead.
I think the answer to that question is yes, and here's why. It's not because you're using it. It's not because that's the way it's sort of optimal because you're trying to hype your whatever, but it's because that's how you explain the universe. The whole point of lore in a game. So there's two things. There's lore and narrative. And the difference is lore is just the facts that make the universe, and narrative is the story that you make with those facts. So in a way, sort of lore is your paints, your colors, and the narrative is the actual painting that you make with those colors and brush and whatever the tools. So you're saying, should lore match the steps of how things are coming out? Absolutely yes, because the things that they put in the game, whether it's a new ship, a new type of atmospheric landing, a new type of building, a new type of gameplay, a new type of mode, these are the paints that we use to make our stories in the universe. And then, so narrative should not fit the pace of what's coming out. Narrative should be a coherent story that's sort of crafted by people much smarter than me. But lore absolutely should fit the stuff that's coming out, because if it doesn't, then that means you have an inconsistency there where you're retconning shit, and you don't want to retcon shit. You want the stuff that comes out to fit.
I mean, I see what you're saying. Let me ask this in a different way.
Okay.
Do we believe that if we were somehow teleported into the elite universe, and we were living there, that the fact that they had megaships already would somehow preclude having privately owned ships of a similar class? So it's this idea that there's things that could be going on in the game that are completely supported by the level of the technology that's purported to be owned by different parties in the game, but the only reason we can't play it is because they haven't programmed it. I mean, similarly with even atmospheric landings, right? Or other things. Like are we going to pretend that when we finally get water planet landings, that in the whole elite universe, no one has ever landed on a water planet until someone programmed it?
No,
that's the thing
not,
I'm getting at. That's the disconnect I'm getting at.
Not at all, because they already have that people live on planets. That they already have that people are on atmospheric landings. The way that the way they explain that in lore, the story bit, is that sort of the people that live on those planets, like they've gone through COVID, they've gone through weird sort of situations of like blights and this, that, and the other, and like, oh, you came here and brought the plague, like you were the white guy that showed up at the Native American party and wiped everybody out with your cooties. So they were like, fuck you guys, you can't come to our rock no more. You come to the station and deliver your shit there, where we're going to run it through all kinds of tests and whatever, and then we're going to make it sit there in quarantine for 90 days or 2 months or whatever, and then our crew that's on the back end, that isn't the crew that's at the docks that deals with you, our back end crew are going to pull it out of quarantine and are going to take it down to the planet. So that's how they sort of explain it. And it is explained that way in the lore of, in fact, that's even a thing that's in the Dark Wheel novella, where Alex is like wistfully looking down at the planet was it Lave? Or yeah, it was Lave, I think, at the very beginning when they were taking off. And the dad was like, Jason was like, oh man, yeah, no, dude, I get it. You really want to go down there? You can't, man. It's super, super lockdown. If you work hard your whole life, you'll get one opportunity to go on a special permit, and you have to go through quarantine, and you have to get shots, and you have to wait, and then you have to blah, blah, blah. And he's remembering. He's like, I remember my one time down on the planet Lave. He's like, it was 12 years ago, but I remember like it was yesterday. It was amazing. So it's like, it's a super big deal. And that's sort of the lore explanation for, whatever. So when we get to the point where we do atmospheric landings or whatever, I'm sure they'll put in some lore explanation of, hey man, it's tied to these nanomeds that now we can go land on planets because these nanomeds fix all our cooties, or, hey man, there's some new whatever. So yeah, they've already explained in game, in lore, in narrative. When they launched it, the press release was like, the Brewer Corporation is proud to announce we finally cracked this thing. It wasn't safe before for a personal commander to have sort of, control of whatever. There were only a dozen of these ships or whatever, and they were military purposes. They were big, huge, super, super important stuff. But, now we made it to where other people can buy it, but it's going to cost you a lot. Like, no, they've explained all of this. It's not fly by the seat of your pants. And it actually makes sense. If we got to the point, I know I bring this up a lot. I'm a huge fan of The Expanse, but there's people, in that show, The Expanse or whatever, it's like, they're talking about like a lot of the belters or whatever they're talking about, and they're like, oh, you think you're going to get a permit? You can't go to Earth. You can't whatever, and then even if you can, if you get a special dispensation like Naomi Nagata got when she was like, okay, she was going back with Holden to see the family. Oh man, you know what? Never mind. I'm giving away stuff. Even if you get a permit, which is a huge, huge deal.
Yeah, no, point taken. I appreciate the explanation. I didn't get that, whether they were really leaning into that and making sure that there was a, like, because they could just have this universe happening around us, and as the game is developed, we get to experience more and more of it. Or they could do, as you're saying, make it so that actually we are experiencing everything that's available, and it's opening up as they program it because of lore reasons.
We are the belter loaders of the Elite Dangerous universe. People need our stuff, but don't want us around. The people that live on the planets, at least. And they will explain. I'm sure that they will explain it in lore when we get to the point that's all sort of relevant.
Yeah. So the moral of the story is, and this is what we talked about in the Dear Frontier episode, is that we really want to make sure that we've got the tie-ins between GALNET stories and actually what we are experiencing in the game, right?
Yeah. And here's the thing. The fact that they put out this NanoMed thing, which is like, what? You're wrapping up a thing that started a year and a half ago? Man, I think it's literally what I'm praying, what I'm hoping, that this wasn't a one-off. This was, okay, we got to the point where it's like, okay, we've done the thing that we were doing with this project, and now we're ready to start putting a crew back onto GALNET. And what's the next thing in the pipeline? Oh, this was scheduled. Let's get it out there. I'm hoping that, it's June now. I'm hoping in July we get another one. Hoping we get a CG. I'm hoping things continue. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, in my mind, I perceive a folder full of Word documents that have these stories played out. And yeah, somebody just opened that folder back up, and they started playing out those stories where we left off last year.
So
and yeah, we had the Galconda, and we got through that CG, and I've got my badge for my ships, but I agree with you. I think it's nice to see that resources are back on this piece of the game. I appreciate that, and again, high five Kai, high five Roy. We did our job.
So on that note, let's move on to the next item on the list here, which is the quote store-wide livery sale. So Frontier put out a tweet, and they said, and this is a direct quote, store-wide sale. All items are 33% off. And then end of tweet. And because of Twitter, they weren't able to say the next bit because they ran out of characters. So they weren't able to say, except for all fleet carrier items, which are not on sale at all. Oh, and except for anything else that is under a month old, which is not on sale at all. Oh, and except for all of these other many, many items on the store, whether it's a ship kit or a decal, or not ship kit, rather, paint job or decal or whatever, because there were many, many other things that did not go on sale. So, on the one hand, Frontier, thank you very much for the 33% off sale. I appreciate it. On the other hand, I would like to point out, without any malice or any I don't want to be shitty about it, but I would like to say, please start telling the truth. If you're going to say many things are on sale for 33% off, then or if that's what you're going to do, then say that and we'll all be happy. But when you say everything is on sale and then there's a lot of things that aren't on sale, but you said everything is on sale, you piss a lot of people off in a very dumb way. It doesn't get you anything, because you're literally creating, you're scoring a goal on yourself. Please don't do that anymore.
I call this stealing defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yeah, you literally, people are mad, and you gave them 33% off. What you should try to aim for is people being happy that you gave them 33% off, or people being neutral because you did nothing. But if you're giving away something for free, 33% on many items, and people are mad, I submit to you that there was a better way to go about that. Anybody, Grover, you got any feelings on this? Anybody got feelings on this?
No, I just think David Braben must be face palming at the moment. All these little bits and pieces that are coming out. Yeah.
Now, it's still awesome. There's a lot of stuff on sale. It's not store-wide on every item, clearly, but there's a lot of things. So please go and
Yeah,
get them to join.
I got a couple of paint jobs.
Yeah,
and I got to see the point, mate. They've probably paid for all of the work on all of the older stuff now, and it keeps the coffers moving for them.
yeah.
But yeah, got a bit of a fail on that tweet.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's leave that at that and just move on. I see again. I get accused of being, a complete fanboy, and I have no objectivity of Frontier. I have objectivity. When they screw up, I'll call them on it. But they do a lot of great things, so I also will call them on that and say, the good things.
And you know what, Kai? Sale aside, one of the first things I did Tuesday morning before I even had a fleet carrier and before the update even dropped was I spent, and hold on to your hats, I spent $15 American to buy an ARC spec. And, I know that might not be feasible for some people, but it's really not that big of a deal. And that got me more than enough ARCs to get me the skin for my carrier, the engine color for my carrier, the landing pad color for my carrier, and I think a couple other skins for some other things that were on sale. It really wasn't that big of a deal. My family's still going to eat this week because of those $15. 33%, I understand, is definitely it helps, but at the same time, an ARCS pack is really not that big of a spend. I know I'm teetering on the Pandora's box of the whole pay to win or however you want to call this bullshit that people like to complain about with ARCS packs and how Frontier is trying to pull money out of our pocket. But it's really not that big of a deal. And
it's a lot more onerous than other games, honestly.
And I have to say this in absolute defense of Frontier, because this is absolutely the truth. Anyone that ever says, "Oh, Frontier, ARCS, pay to win," you're full of shit, dude. You're full of shit. They've made it consistent. You pay for cosmetics. It doesn't make you any better. You're just paying for, ooh, I want the pretty blue engines. Ooh, I want the pew-pews that are red. And hey, man, that's awesome. Good for you. Keep up with that. You guys are doing awesome. I'm just saying, in the future, just say what you mean, because with so many things, it would be different if this was one thing, but there have been multiple things. Hey, we found in, like, they said, the jumps are going to be, what is it, 1,000, like it's going to cost, 1,000 or 100,000, whatever credits. And then, 100,000 credits for a jump. And then it cost 750,000. And then people caught him and said, hey, you raised the price by, sorry, that's a glitch. We're going to move it down to 100,000. It'll be fixed today. And then, boop, like 2-3 hours later, it got fixed to 150. And it's like, don't. If you're going to say, hey, we're going to fix it to 150, then fix it to 150. But just do what you say you're going to do. That's all it is. And let's not belabor that point. Let's move on. The next issue that we have up to talk about is Grover Kiwi's coming up expedition. Guys, I'm going to introduce you a little more here to Grover. Grover, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you live, your background, and your idea for this cool expedition, and just take a couple minutes.
Oh, yeah, well, kia ora. I live in Aotearoa, New Zealand. Part Māori, part Samoan, part European, and been playing Elite Dangerous since back on the BBC in '83 when it first came out. I think I was 11, so have always been fascinated with this. And recently, in the last number of years, I've gotten more into understanding the Māori culture side of my heritage. Mm-hmm. And one of the big things that's come out in the normalisation of, or with the revitalisation and normalisation of Māori culture within New Zealand, is the idea of the Māori New Year. So Matariki is the heralds the new year in Māori culture. Traditional Māori life revolved around a lunar calendar as opposed to the Gregorian solar calendar. So Matariki changes its dates every year. But coming up in mid-July will be the dawning of Matariki. Matariki translates to the eyes of the gods, and it's 9 stars in the Pleiades system. Matariki being the mother, and then her 8 children. And when they came up in the to signify the new year, that showed Māori people when to plant, what kind of food to plant, and what kind of winter they would have. So yeah, it was just a chance to, firstly for myself, to go and visit those 9 stars, and then possibly take some people along. And I got involved with the Loose Screws kind of crew when they were doing the
Distance Cruise?
Loose Screws expedition, yeah. Distance Cruise. Had a great time with that, and Jay and Trax, who put that all together, has helped me a little bit get this up and running. So yeah, we're just preparing, and we'll be looking to kick off about the 13th of July.
That's awesome. Jay and Trax is awesome people. So Matariki is the sort of the harbinger of the Maori New Year, and that is coming up in July. And to kick it all off, you are organizing. This is going to be an expedition, but this is a mini expedition. I don't know why sorry, hold on. My phone is set to off, but my iPad is ringing now. So we're going to go ahead and turn that off as well.
As people want to get on the expedition already.
Yeah. But
the lines are lighting up.
So this is like a telethon. Call in now. So so basically this is going to be a mini expedition. You're setting it up through EDSM and doing the whole 9 yards, but for those people that want to do this, it's going to be an expedition you can do in one day, because it's literally just in the Pleiades. It's you can, in one play session, you can go for a couple hours, and you're going to do sort of a thing kind of like a Drew Wagar lore tour kind of thing, but it's going to be a sort of real life, right? Lore tour of, this is Maori culture of, this is the Matariki, this is this star, this is that star, and so it's the mother and the 8 children's, I guess, for the 9 stars total, and they are Akinar type stars, right? They're the real bright white bluish ones that shine really bright in the sky, and they are stars that you can for realsies see in the southern sky, in the southern hemisphere, in the night sky at certain times of the year. And you're going to do kind of a whole, so it's going to be a cool thing where you're going to have like a thing put together, like a little, here's a video on this part of the culture, here's a kind of cool story, tell you a little bit about the mythology of, here's the story of Matariki, here's this, here's that, and then, okay, now go do it. And you can celebrate the Maori New Year by spending a couple hours flying with some friends, hearing a cool story. I assume we're going to all get together at Earth and then leave together and do a whole story, have a whole little, it's going to be like a cool little fun adventure thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we've had people from obviously the States, Australia, tapping shoulders with other fellow Kiwis, even Estonia. So I'm possibly looking at doing 2 guided tours, like in different times, so we can people can join when they're able to. But yeah, there'll be a short period for the where the expedition will be active, but because it's so short, you can do it in one night. You can do it with a short range jump ship, and if people haven't gone on an expedition before, if they're new, if they're even if they're they haven't started their engineering journey, we can go and visit the Pleiades, but we can also get the materials to unlock Felicity Farseer and do all that. Hopefully bump into a Thargoid or 2 and survive and come back.
Nice. And
So
go ahead.
I was just going to say real quick, quick question for you, Grover, and I don't want to introduce any spoilers. So if you want to say no, I'm not going to tell you right now. That's okay. But as part of the tour, have Frontier actually made these pieces that you're going to visit within the tour? Like, are there Maori elements of these systems and of these stars that tie back to that piece of your mythology? I mean, are those elements actually in the game?
Not really, because the only thing that was visible in the sky were the stars themselves. Um, there's created mythology around the explanation of each of the stars, and each of the stars is a person that also ties with the mythology around the Maori creation story. So we can go deep. I'm going to try and keep it fairly light and interesting. So we go deep enough for it to be interesting, but not so deep that people get lost or. And just to be able to view the stars from the point of view of a indigenous nation who, along with the rest of the Pacific people, colonized the largest body of water in the world thousands of years ago, all by using the stars. So have a different, possibly different, or a special kind of relationship with the stars in the sky. Even little things to interest people that they may not know is that in the southern hemisphere, we see the same stars as the northern hemisphere, but they're up the other way. So
that's beautiful.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to jump in as a somewhat amateur astronomer, just to point out, you can see these stars from the northern hemisphere. They're pretty low on the horizon this time of year. Yep. They'll be higher in the horizon when we have our winter, but they are part of the shared sky that we can see with the southern hemisphere. There are obviously certain stars that you can only at the extremes that are only visible from the north and south, but fortunately this is one you can see from both sides.
Yeah, man. And it's so we've got a month, and Grover's going to get this together. He'll get us details and we will cover it, but it's going to be a fun thing. He's going to have some links in there. He's going to do a talk. It's going to be a guided tour. You're going to have a couple opportunities to get in on it. And then I'm sure he will have, the tour is going to be up on ADSM, so you could still do it. Even if you do it, if you're hearing this 6 months from now and you missed it, you could still do it. And I'm sure he'll put up a nice little video. He'll have a talk and maybe some links at the end for, hey, those people that want to dive deeper into the culture. And here's a good book recommendation, or here's this, or here's that, or, here's a cool, movie to check out, or here's something else to kind of, I think it's good to, the Pleiades are awesome. There's cool stuff. There's what Taygeta's daughter that has or Titan's daughter that has, isn't that the one? I'm trying to remember. Is that the one where it's a hollowed out asteroid that it looks like one of the ones from it looks like, what was that? The one, I got to be careful. It looks like Eros, from The Expanse. I'm being careful. There's neat stuff to see there just as an elite pilot, and then the fact that it ties into this cool sort of creation myth, that it's like, I think there's a lot of people that know sort of the Western culture's creation myths. They know our stuff of whether it be Christianity or the Romans or the Greeks or whatever, but it's cool to see other cultures as well. So it'll be a cool thing. We'll have more information. We'll let you know. I know I'm going to be there, so let's look into it when it happens for sure. So let us know as soon as the setup is done and we can start registering for it, Grover, and we'll make sure that we shout it out on the show.
Yeah. Grover, you had shared the link for the registration earlier. Do you want us to?
Sure, put it in chat.
Should we post that in the chat? Yeah, that's
absolutely.
what I was thinking.
Absolutely, put it in chat right now. It's all good. And
so it's just tiny.url elite Matariki, so Matariki.
All right.
So
beautiful. So everybody interested, sign up there, and like I said, we'll have more information as the time gets closer to it. And it's not a huge commitment. It's a couple hours, so everybody can go and do it. And even if it's like, I'm not going to be around that weekend, I'm sure there'll be a video, there'll be a thing. You can go get it later. It'll all be good. Go do it. It's fun. All right. So that brings us to turning the wheel. Tonight is a big night. This is a big win for LFT 926. Tonight, in what, 2 more hours, 3 more hours, whatever, is going to be when they announce that we have won the election. And the Dark Wheel will, for the first time, maybe ever, but for sure in a long time, this will be the first time that the Dark Wheel controls a system. We went 4-0 with LFT 926, and we're gonna just keep pushing influence and hit that expanse. We're gonna expand for the first time, and that will be awesome. There's a very, very cool banner that is up for in the Elite Week Discord that has welcome to Meredith City. And it's like our flag. It's welcome to Meredith City, and then around it is the emblem of the Dark Wheel. So go check that out. It is awesome stuff. Also, for a mission support, I have bought my carrier. My carrier, which you can see on screen right now, is called Elite Week -1. Elite Week 1, parentheses, TDW, the Dark Wheel, close parentheses. And the actual ship registration ID number is K67-G2T. I bought it. I outfitted it with all the stuff. It's got a shipyard. It's got a module, thing. It's got universal cartographics, although it's best. The only reason why you would use universal cartographics if you're like, man, I need to sell this right now because I'm about to go do a dicey combat mission. In general, it's better for you to travel to a system that we own. For example, in 3 hours, it's going to be Meredith City, and sell your universal cartographics there to bump up our the Dark Wheel's influence with that. But it's there in case you need it for emergency purposes. Then you can use it. But it's got all of the stuff, and everywhere that we're going, where we're focusing on, like, oh, we're moving from LFT 926, now we're moving to 322, or now we're moving to this system or that system. We're jumping into Lave. The ship will go with. So you can use the shipyard and ship over 4 or 5 of your ships to say, like, man, I got my dedicated hauler, I got my dedicated miner, I got my dedicated mission runner medium, I got my dedicated large combat ship. I've got this, that, and the other. They're all here. It's all going to jump with, and you don't have to keep paying to transfer week after week. Okay, we're going here now. Okay, we're going there now. It's all going to be, and the tariffs are set permanently at 0. I'm not charging anything for anybody. I'm losing money on this. I don't care. The whole purpose of this is to support the project. So look for it. It's Elite Week -1 TDW. Bookmark it, and then you have it. You can, you can just see where we're at, and it'll be close by. Now, we're going to end up eventually expanding into medium systems where, that doesn't have a large landing pad, in which case it will be good for you to have a large ship available. So if you want to take it into a Haz-Res, you can take your vet, or you want to, whatever, you can take this or that. But yeah, it's going to be there for everyone. It's fully kitted. The only thing I did not put on it, I didn't put a black market because I don't care about that. I'm not doing that. And I didn't put a redemption office because we want you to redeem your bonds and stuff at the offices where we can get actual credit for it, not on the fleet carrier. Okay. That is that. We've got, it has refuel, it has repair, it has rearm, it has all of that. Guys, why don't you cover for a minute or two? I've got one thing I got to do real quick, and talk about the Dark Wheel, talk about what's going on with that, and I will be right back.
I just want to thank everyone that has contributed so much. It's a real treasure to see this vision starting to become a reality. It's amazing how many people have lent their efforts to this, and how quickly it's happening. I mean, there's maybe some hard road ahead, but wow, it's great to see this early effort paying off.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Roy. I think before the fleet carriers dropped, there was certainly, I mean, I don't remember if we touched on it when we spoke last about this, but just and maybe we did. The sheer numbers of folks that have stepped into the Elite Week Discord to talk about what's going on with this entire effort, and just really contributing to the effort and seeing what they can do, and getting into the lore, and participating in that entire effort, I think is good to see. And now that the fleet carriers have dropped, I'm also interested to see how people are going to take that new dynamic. Kai has now got this carrier that he's using to support the effort. But if people are also going to use perhaps their own carriers, or some other piece of this new dynamic with the carriers in game, to drive the effort. I know I've been kind of listening and watching the forums to see how BGS has been influenced, whether it's due to the bugs that are because of the game update, or what have you. There's certainly been some adjustments, I'll call them, that have happened. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how this entire effort plays out. I know we may, Kai, it sounds like you're back. I know we may get to some other elements of how perhaps BGS has been manipulated by the fleet carriers.
Well, there's been a lot of things that have happened. Let's talk about, though, something that happened today. This is the hot news, and I didn't want to lead with it because I wanted to kind of put the focus on every last piece as we went along, but we've come to it, so let's hit it hard. Here is the hot news. It would appear that Frontier sort of had a unfortunate situation. Maybe there was a code issue, maybe someone screwed something up, maybe whatever, but here's the long and short of it. You can get information within 20 light years of you if you're at a cartographic setup, if a cartographic sort of office, unless they did something specifically to lock it down. And they specifically made sure that when they crafted all of these permit lock systems, they crafted it such that it wouldn't be a problem. Everything was kosher. They didn't seem to have taken into account the fact that they just added movable stations with cartographic offices to the game 3 days ago. And as a result, today, a guy posted on the Reddit, hey, here's a cool thing. I went and parked next to Polaris, 8 light years away from Polaris, and then just went to my cartographic office, and boom, I got a map of Polaris. Isn't that cool? I went to this system, and boom, I got a map of that place. I went to this system, boom, I got a map of that place. Long and short of it is, he posted maps up of all kinds of permit lock systems. It's crazy. And let me just show you here, what we're talking about here. Like, here is the map of Polaris, which is a little nuts. This is not something that we are supposed to have or see or whatever, but this was, to my knowledge, this was not a hack. I want to be very, very clear so that nobody is confused. This was not a hack. This is a guy, or at least he claims it was not a hack. This is a guy who claims that he went in the game without any extra add-ons or programs or whatever. He went in the game. He went to a place that he's legally allowed to be. He used his fleet carrier and the cartographics office that is contained in there, also completely legal. And then, boom, he found stuff that somebody somewhere should have locked down so he didn't find. And as a result of that, all kinds of information is out. Now, some people have said, like, I don't believe this. This is bullshit. This is whatever. I know multiple people who have jumped their fleet carrier. My fleet carrier is in LFT 926 doing what it's supposed to do, supporting the Dark Wheel mission. But multiple people that I know have gone and taken pictures of different permanent locked systems and shown like, hey, I did it too. This is cool. Lots of people are doing it online. It's it's super, super interesting. And there's some weirdness, there's some oddities. One of which, and I'm going to warn people now, if you're like, I don't want to know, stop listening now. Turn it off. This is not for you. But one of the interesting things is he posted pictures of LFT 509. And LFT 509 is a system that nobody really gave a damn about, 2 days ago, 3 days ago. It was one of the many, many lists of permit lock system. But unlike Polaris, that has a story that people are like, oh, I want to know what's in there. That's me. I was like, oh, I want Polaris. Now, if you were to tell me, hey, man, you can unlock one permit, Polaris or LFT 509, I'll take LFT 509 because I think, based off of the explanation that the guy gave in the Reddit thread, and a copy of which will be in the show notes, I think that he made a pretty conclusive argument that LFT 509 is the home of the Dark Wheel. Because LFT 509, with that map that he showed, it has a gas giant with a ring. There are 8 moons that are in orbit of the gas giant, one of which is a sub-moon. It's 7 moons and then a moon of a moon. But technically still, those are 8 bodies that are all moving in orbit of the larger body, which is the gas giant, the ringed gas giant, which is the explanation for the Dark Wheel. They say, oh, that's in the lore. That's where their base is. That's half of it. And you might rightly say, man, there's lots of planets that have, that setup. There's tons of planets that have a ringed gas giant with 8 moons. You're right. Here's what those other ones don't have, though. This system, LFT 509, has no population. There's nobody there. But it has a government, which is a democracy, which, by the way, is the same government that the Dark Wheel faction is. And it has an economy, which it shouldn't do. So, yeah, that's weird. Between the fact that it's a permit lock system and the gas giant, that it fits that thing, and the fact that it very clearly has a hidden station of some sort there in that system that we're not hearing about. You put those 3 facts together and it looks pretty good, pretty conclusive, pretty at the very least, let's put it this way, until I get some piece of information that says that it's not there, or some piece of information that says that there's a more compelling reason to look somewhere else. Man, that to me really, really sort of says, hey, look at this. You're going to be seeing over the next week or two lots of pictures by lots of people of lots of like, oh, I took this, I took that. I would not be at all shocked because I know for a fact that Frontier is aware of this. I would not be at all shocked if at some point in the next 12 hours this was fixed. But pictures are going to be coming out that people took 3 hours ago, 4 hours ago, 6 hours ago, an hour from now, before it gets fixed. Pictures are going to be coming out that, oh, yeah, I took this one in the first 2 hours, but I didn't share it. Oh, here it is. They're going to be coming out, and people are going to see them, and it's going to be a lot of stuff, man. Polaris, spoiler alert, Polaris, Overlook was there. The mega ship that the Black Flight Squadron is based out of was there, and it's like, oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, so there's a lot of interesting things. Now, I will point out that LFT 509 we don't know how to get the permit for. There's a very cool project going on right now called Turning the Wheel, in which some handsome debonair gentlemen and lovely ladies are working to address that. And maybe this is a way to do it, and maybe it's not. I will also say, all kidding aside, we're going to have some talks, some meetings in the BGS planning group for this project, and we're definitely going to keep our first target as moving towards Seoul. But there's a possibility that phase 2 might be, you know, redirected. Instead of going to Lave for phase 2, maybe make Lave phase 3 and have phase 2 be LFT 509, because it'd be cool. Grow it towards that way. It's only 70 light years away. It's not that bad. I think yeah, it could be a good time. Guys, what are your thoughts on this?
I'm having a flashback to all the hundreds of systems in my exploration travels, and I don't think I'm alone here, where I went out of my way to scan the eighth moon of a gas giant, even when there was zero value.
I did that many, many times.
Oh my goodness! Like, it kind of bugs me a bit that was a permit lock system, that wasn't available for exploration.
Well, I mean, I will say that first off, we're not saying that this is Raxla. We're saying that this is the theory.
Even if it's Dark Wheel.
This is the Dark Wheel.
It's Dark Wheel. Totally, I knew that. It wasn't like I was searching these eighth moons thinking it was Raxla. It was maybe it was another step on the journey, and it kind of bugs me a bit that it was closed to us.
For me, I look at it from the standpoint of that was my whole supposition. My whole supposition on this Turning the Wheel project is it's closed to us. We have to figure out a way to open it. So if it's closed to us because we haven't figured out how to turn the key yet and to open it, then shame on us. That's not Frontier's fault. That's us. We need to get with it, get our shit in gear, and get it moving. If it's locked because they haven't given us the lock yet, and they're like, oh, well, in 3 years when we come out with the update that has this content, we will give you the key, then it's shame on them. That's how I feel. Fee?
Yeah, you know, my perspective with my tinfoil hat on is, you know, I don't know. Just thinking about this whole thing, and you know, I think in beta 1 there was no cartographic data in the fleet carrier, right? That it just wasn't a thing, and the community said, I want to have it. So they said, okay, we'll put it in there, and then they added it, right? It was in beta 2. I didn't play the fleet carriers in the betas, so correct me if I'm wrong.
It was.
Yeah, it was in 2.
Okay, so I'm starting to think from a Frontier perspective that either there was an oversight there, or somebody, whether it was Mr. Braben or otherwise, said, you know what, let's just throw them a bone and let them figure this out, or let them see if they find it. And just like it took less than a week for us to find a triple, potentially quadruple LTD hotspot, post BORANN with the new launch, we've already taken advantage or exploited the fleet carriers to now find the Dark Wheel lurking within our bubble. So I think, you know, I'm not really reading too much into the lore aspect of it, or to what we could be, you know, tripping upon because we now have this capability. I'm really just thinking about, from a Frontier perspective, whether or not they inadvertently showed their hand and it very much was an accident, or it was something that somebody conscientiously behind the scenes said, you know what, it's time. It's been 5 years, or it's been 35 years. Let's let this play out, and let's see what happens. I'm curious to see how this whole thing plays out.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that's an interesting way to go. That it could be, you know, them throwing us a bone. That's an interesting possibility.
Yeah, because if you think about it, like tie it back to GALNET coming back, right? So GALNET is going to come back, and we're going to start to see some stories play out, right? You know, we talked before Tuesday. We spent weeks, months talking about what was going to happen when the fleet carriers dropped. We talked about the Thargoids. We talked about how that is going to change, what is going to happen. I think we are on the precipice of a lot of change in the game, and they haven't really released it all yet. Again, we're just getting started here. But I think there's a lot of different elements, a lot of different aspects of the game that may play out here, and maybe it was not an accident that you can now see these things, and maybe some things are going to play out, and so I'm trying to be open minded, I guess, and just see what happens.
You are absolutely right. It is one of the possibilities. I think there's a much higher probability that either A, someone screwed up, or B, they actually said, hey man, we got to block this, and they did what they were supposed to, but the code screwed them. Sometimes there's weird, one comma in the wrong place, and that code just didn't compile or didn't whatever, and as a result, we get this.
Yeah, no, I get that, but again, putting my tinfoil hat on, when you guys were talking through this, is everybody familiar with the concept of a black dwarf?
Oh yeah.
And what that is? Okay. Have we ever found a black dwarf?
Not yet.
Okay, and a black dwarf would be pretty what if we found it in a system? It would be pretty dark, right? And what if that black dwarf happened to have a certain amount of moons around it? So I was just I was kind of going down the rabbit hole of what could actually be out there, and thinking through some things that we haven't found. Going back to that statement that somebody said, where this is how you're supposed to be playing the game, and you're not playing it right yet. Just kind of stepping outside the box and thinking about these possibilities. So I think again, we are all going back into our imaginations and taking the facts that we know and interpreting them in our own little way. It's just interesting to see how it's going to play out.
Right on. I think there's a much higher likelihood that it was a screw up, but I dig it. I appreciate your keeping the hope alive that it's down to a master plan by Frontier, and we shall see.
Yeah, I gotta shoot, but I just wanted to say, firstly, thanks for having me on.
No worries.
And I just think I'm wondering, with this kind of discovery, because we've got players right across the board that are pushing in all different areas, and they're trying to find things, and combined with the efforts from Elite Week to push the Dark Wheel to the fore, whether it's going to provide some perfect kind of timing or something for something different to happen.
It could be, man. These are exciting and interesting times between the Odyssey stuff, the Fleet Carrier stuff, these other things, the Dark Wheel. There's a lot going on in this game, and we're going to get to some of that, and when we talk about the state of the game in the wrap up. Real quick, so have a great night, Grover, and we'll talk to you soon, and we'll have more information on your thing, your expedition. Real quick, I just want to hit a couple of announcements on here. Number one, tomorrow, PC Gamer is doing, they were supposed to do, it's June 13th at 11 a.m. Pacific, so it's coming up, 11 a.m. Pacific is like, 2 p.m. Eastern, so it's coming up in like 14 hours. There's a PC Gamer virtual game show. There was supposed to be a game show. Frontier was going to be there, but because of COVID, it's now a virtual game show. You can get it at twitch.com/PC Gamer or youtube.com/PC Gamer. I think maybe that's when the Odyssey trailer that we saw was supposed to launch. And maybe they've decided to put some other nugget of information, because they're going to be part of that, and they're supposed to have, I think, something to show. Maybe they'll show something. So I know I will be checking tomorrow, and I think it's just a good thing for some people that follow Elite Dangerous to put on their calendar and see what the community team sort of does there or shows there or whatever. Maybe it'll be something cool. And I want to give a huge 07, everyone, to Commander Mgram in the chat. He just put out the new AXI website, which is www.antixenoinitiative, all spelled out, no spaces, antixenoinitiative.com. So that is a huge accomplishment. If you haven't seen it yet, That is a massive, massive repository of all kinds of AX knowledge. So congratulations, Commander Mgram, on a massive job. Well done. And everyone, go to antixeno.initiative.com and bookmark it for all your AX needs. The Gnosis is going to be retiring. It's going to be a shuttle bus now. Everybody who's interested, go to Canon and check out their, go to their website, go to their Discord, check out the information they have posted. It's going to be a shuttle bus. It's going to be traveling over a series of weeks to hit some of like the big, super important places in Canon's history of like, oh, this was, this Thargoid site. Oh, this was this Lagrange cloud. This was that. I love the way British people say, they don't say Lagrange cloud, they say Lagrange cloud, like they're French or something. I don't know why. I don't like the French, but I do like Lagrange cloud. All right. Let's see here. So that'll be an awesome thing. Big shout out, big salute to all of Canon Interstellar and the crew who worked the Gnosis tirelessly for a good chunk of time there and did all kinds of cool experiments. And the Gnosis debacle, the cone sector debacle, whatever you want to call it, there's a lot of stories there. There's a lot of cool history of Canon. If you're just coming to this late and you don't know, go to the wiki and check out the Gnosis. Check out Commander Avasa just put out a very, very cool AXI debrief like 2 days ago or yesterday. It's blurring together at this point. That had both information on that AXI website and information with the wiki and the link on that Gnosis retirement. It's good stuff. And one last thing. Actually, we'll get to that in State of the Game. I have a thought on Odyssey real quick, and I just want to throw it out there for 2 seconds and then, whatever. Here's my thought on Odyssey. Could settlements, outposts, social hubs, whatever that nebulous, undefined thing is, could that be some variation of base building? I mean, let's look at the facts. Number one, base building was in the leak. And number two, the ARC store, even the metadata on the ARC store from January had specifically had livery options for your buildings. And I'm thinking to myself, what if Frontier had sort of the idea of hey, we're going to do base building, and then for whatever reason, programming, game-wise, whatever, it's oh, this doesn't work, or oh, we got a better idea, we can pivot here, we can do this. What if base building, player base building is never coming, but group base building is? What if it's going to be possible for a squadron or a player faction or a group or whatever to sort of do something modular or upgrade, hey man, AXI has this station, has this base, or man, Loose Screws has this base, or Hutton Truckers have this installation on this ground, blah blah blah. If they can do certain amount of trading or certain amount of missions or certain amount of something, they can trigger some, or you do this many ground missions or you do this much whatever, and you trigger some upgrade, and then it oh, now your base is bigger, now your base is whatever. And what if, I don't know how this works being ARC, let's take the ARC's idea out of it because that's tied more to personal ownership, so I don't see how that works. But what if there's just a thing where it's you can sort of build your base through the process of leveling it up through this. They talk about alliances or allegiances and coordinated group play and group things. What if there's a thing we could do there? What do you guys think? Hop in, Roy. Hop in.
It's an interesting theory. The first thing that comes to mind for me would be, what if it's an extension of EGS, where you can already add ships, modules, some enhancement to service to stations that you own. I mean, if they wanted to extend existing mechanics. They could make these social spaces or bases have things that you can enhance by owning them and driving the same metrics that you use currently in BGS. That could be one path.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it's the exact same thing we're talking about, where you already can expand a station that you own, the services available, but this would be more of it. You can expand something you can actually see. You see the building get bigger. You see the design become more whatever. You see a new helicopter pad put in, or a new this, or a new that, or whatever, a new road, or a new something. What do you think, Fee?
Yeah, I just using the techniques and the methods that they have in place today. If you think about the way that we shop for ships, right? You've got 20 different ships. I don't know that real number, but I just spitball that. You've got 20 different ships that have different capabilities where certain variables of whether it's your type, your sixes and your sevens and your eights and your fives and your fours and your threes are set up in different configurations. And so I would perceive that if we are going to get some kind of capability in building a base on a surface of a planet, it would be something similar to that, where you would have modules that would support different capabilities and different configurations. And so kind of like what we were talking about earlier, right? With the fleet carriers, where when we saw that first trailer and we thought that, okay, a mining fleet carrier is going to have this sort of configuration and you're going to have this kind of capability, and a combat will have this and trading will have that. I would perceive that a base building dynamic will actually utilize a similar approach. And then you'll basically just be able to, purchase. I'm kind of struggling with the upgrade piece. I don't know. Maybe they introduce some kind of engineering, and now you're able to engineer your base into a particular configuration that you decided to purchase to augment that base configuration. I would see that they would align with the way that they've done it with ships, with bases.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, right? That's all of this is just pure speculation, because we don't have details, we don't have information. Hopefully, when we get it, we'll have more. This is just a flight of fancy, so I'm not suggesting like, hey, this is the thing that's going to happen. This was just a what if thought. This is just a thought that struck me. We will get more information, and when we do, we'll better be able to answer or speculate on all this stuff. But it was just a thought that I wanted to put out there and see if it resonated, see what people thought, and see what comes back to us. So let's move on to the wrap up. Before we wrap up and do the state of the game, I want to say something. Everyone who's watching right now, all the people that are watching live, if you could hit that thumbs up, that would be awesome. Subscribe to the channel, yeah, all the things. I don't know, you're supposed to tell people do all this stuff because, I don't know, it makes people see it more, it shares it more, it gets people involved. Join the Discord. If you're listening to this on the YouTube, or sorry, on the podcast, please give it a like, hit the 5 stars, whatever, write a review, do all of the things so we can spread it so more people see it, and hopefully, whatever. We expand the conversations that we have on these interesting, cool subjects for people who love Elite.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget this stream comes with a set of unique features that you will not get from other streams, from other content creators. We have a very unique approach where we like to spend the first like 10, 30, 45, 60, 90 minutes just trying to get our shit together and really just bringing the community in to join in that.
Yeah,
so,
you get to hear the echoes.
It's like a psychedelic simulation. For
yeah, I mean, there's a benefit to everybody supporting this stream that you don't get with other streams. So make sure you do that.
All right, I'm saving my watches because the bullshit's getting deep in here. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna move on. All right, so now it's time to wrap up with State of the Game. State of the Game is where we just throw in all of the odds and ends and pots and pans and get the stuff. So I'm going to real quick run through my State of the Game, and you guys hop in at any point. First thing, I got to throw this out there, very first thing. Huge salute to a monster in the game, a absolute total legend. Gluttony Fang, the founder of the AXI. He has put himself on inactive duty. He's retired from active duty right now. He's still in the reserves. He can still get called up at any point, but I think he's got some IRL stuff that he's sort of focusing on and working on. And I know that the guys at AXI, one and all, look up to him and love him and want to see sort of, him come back at some point when he's ready, when his life situation is such that, he's able to do that. But a legend in the game, and just big '07, big salute, guys. Let's throw him a salute for that.
Yeah, big '07.
Absolutely.
Right on. Now I'm gonna this one here. This one's a little different because I don't know Gluttony Fang, and from what I've heard indirectly, he's moving on for life situations that he's addressing and whatever, and that's awesome. He's doing his thing and whatever. There's another player. We're going to call him Player X. I want to respect his wishes to not make a stink and to not be singled out and whatever. So we're going to call him Player X. Player X recently retired. He quit a lot of discords and quit the game. And he is I wouldn't say quit the game. He's a very, very, very key person in the community. He is very well known and he is very much beloved, and I talked to him. I talked to Player X directly and was like, dude, is everything all right? What's going on? And he said flat out, I feel like I just got kicked in the balls with this whole VR thing, and I don't want to hear all the great news from everybody else of the things that they're speculating they're going to get when I'm feeling betrayed. I feel like Frontier gave me a big fuck you, and so I didn't want to pitch a fit. I didn't want to make a noise. I don't want to try to make a spectacle, but I'm just going to peace out. I'm going to be around from time to time, just tooling around in game, and I'll hit you up, but I just can't be a part of the discords and see all the updates and all the news and everybody speculating like they're ready for Christmas when I'm just feeling so betrayed. And this is not unique. This is a thing that I have heard from multiple VR player commanders, that they're not all of them have taken it as far as him, but many of them have taken it to the point of, they're looking and they're, hey, have you heard anything good about this game? That one's shit. Okay. What about this one? Maybe. Let's look at it. Oh, okay. Oh, I hear this one's coming 6 months from now. Oh, let's look into this. They're starting to look. And this is there's a Chinese curse that says, may you live in interesting times. This is very, very interesting times for Elite, because in a way, what was that other book? It was The Best of Times. It was The Tale of Two Cities, right? It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Yeah, I feel like that we're in a very Tale of Two Cities sort of juncture of Elite Dangerous, where it is very possible that this could go very, very well, and it is also possible that this could go very, very poorly. And I think they need to watch their step, especially on this VR thing. And I'm not saying this as a VR commander who is like, man, I'm arguing for my thing. I do not use VR. I don't own it. My computer's a little bit of a potato. I don't think it would work well with it. So from a purely selfish standpoint, it's better for me, Kai, if they say, screw VR, we're not putting any work into it at all, and they just give me stuff that I can use. And yet, I'm still saying, from a purely selfless standpoint, dude, if you can, put the time in, cover it halfway, make it to where, the parts where you're in the cockpit and you're in the parts where you're in the cockpit and the parts where you're in the SRV seat, you're behind the wheels, the seated bits, make those VR compatible even for the new stuff, because if you don't, man, you're going to turn people away. And it breaks my heart to see good people who love this game, who are OG, like they have been the people that are going, have you heard the good word of Elite Dangerous? These are the guys that have been your missionaries that have been pulling other people into this game. You don't want to lose that group, man. You don't want to lose that team. It it I don't know how they go about doing that. I don't know if it's a matter of, you know, I don't know if it's just do the seeded bits or if it's, do some kind of, I get it that you can't always make stuff work out that way as far as, it's like, man, we want to do it. We just can't do it right. And we don't want people to have a bad product and be mad. So we're not going to do it. Like, okay, oh man, this whole thing is just really, really rough when I see people like the person that I saw, say, I'm going to peace out. It's like, oh, that's rough. And yet, at the same time, that was the worst of times. Now let's get to the best of times. Let's look at the fact that you've got such innovation going on right now. Let's look at, just, if nothing else, let's look at this. This was posted on Reddit a couple hours ago under the state of the game. At the same time that we had all that negativity that I just said that's going on where people are starting to look this way and that way and whatever, Elite just broke a record for concurrent users that's 4.5 years old. It's a 4.5-year-old record, concurrent online users on Steam. It's the highest number of Steam users online at once since November of 2015. That is massive. There's fleet carriers are taking off. There's new stuff that's happening. People are getting into BGS projects like Turning the Wheel and other things. There's a lot of people that are super excited by what they're seeing in Odyssey, and I'm one of them. You've got people like, dude, this fan art is just sexy AF, man. This fan art, it's a woman. She's like a tech. She's fixing equipment on an ice planet. It was made by @commander_Fosdyke. I'm going to spell that. FOSDYKE. Go to Twitter and check out commander_Fosdyke. It's the thumbnail for this video because I wanted to spread it out there so people can see it. Go to Twitter, follow this guy, go through his stuff. He has posted all kinds of amazing pictures of just great Elite fan art, awesome stuff. To the point, it's so good that people are like, "Hey man, was this put out by the company? Is this part of a press release?" It's that good. It has sort of moved past the fan art stage. So that's my read on the state of the game, man. It is the best of times. It is the worst of times. I am super excited for the possibilities of what we have in front of us, and I'm super scared and saying, man, Frontier, do not make a misstep here that's going to cost you. I really, really, it would break my heart if we lose some of the key people. I don't care if you add in 50 new people. If you lose, if you add in 50 new people and lose 15 of these key sort of people that are in these positions that really make the game like hold together so well, I'll still be brokenhearted. Fee, why don't you give me your state of the game, your feeling on all of that I just said and anything else that I missed?
Yeah, geez, holy crap. I guess, my take on the whole VR piece and really just thinking about all of that, I'll say the same thing I said when we talked about this last. It's early, right? There's more to come.
Mm-hmm.
Statements that have been released from Frontier have said at launch these things will not be in place.
Mm-hmm.
That again, I'm going to be the optimist. I'm going to say that doesn't mean that they're not ever going to be there. And now the other piece of me says, when somebody says, if you're going to play a game in VR, what game do you play? A lot of those people will say you've got to play Elite Dangerous. Elite Dangerous is the VR game. And so with that being said, even post Odyssey launch, getting into your spaceship with your VR headset on is still going to be an experience. It's still going to be a capability, regardless of Elite Feet, regardless of having a blaster and running across the surface of a planet. So I personally, I have not played VR yet. I am on the perpetual mailing list for Rift to get a notification when the S is available again. So I do want to get VR and be able to fly my spaceship with the headset on. I'm really not butthurt at all at this point because Odyssey is not going to have the capability because, again, right now I just don't have anything to relate to. But I am looking forward to being able to fly the spaceship. So personally, I'm good with the way things are right now, and I'm open minded that Frontier, once the technology matures, and maybe that's a big piece of it. Maybe they don't want to build it into the game at launch because they're looking at the way that it's done today, and what maybe they as a game development company are capable of today, and they don't want to disappoint their player community by doing it wrong. So what they want to do is they want to wait for their capability to mature. They want to wait for their technology to mature so that they can give us the experience that we deserve. And so coming up with a public statement that says we will not provide this at launch is the best that they can do right now, with the hypothetical potential that they will give it to us in the future once they have that capability and that maturity.
Okay. And Roy?
Well, to thread on a couple of things you've both said, I think some of the highlights right now in the game, I mean, personally for me, I'm totally enjoying the scrum, the gold rush, whatever you want to call it, the bit of the mass chaos that's going on right now in a good way, as the economic systems, as the logistic systems, as the emergent gameplay is sort of evolving from this froth of 5,000 fleet carriers being poured into the game. I think that's awesome. It's making things that maybe would have been mundane seem exciting. Having a bunch of friends help load your fleet carrier with tritium. If you'd tried to do something like that 6 months ago and said, "Oh, let's all get together and haul, I don't know, insert commodity here from this station to that station," you would have got a lot of groans. But for some reason, loading up a fleet carrier is exciting, and it was fun, and it was just, there was lots of stuff going on, and everyone's playing it open, and you're wondering what's going to happen. So that's thrilling, and that's going to go on for a while. So that's great. I love that that's working. I've been reflecting a lot on the, for the other side of the coin, that this whole VR thing, and the thing that stands out to me about VR in this game is, I guess, two things. It's an aspirational aspect of the game, right? So I've never used VR. It's something that I had hoped to use in this game, and the analogy I would use is, why does Ford make the GT? Why does GM make Corvettes? Why does Toyota make a Supra? Do you think they're making a lot of money off those products?
No, those are Those are to inspire sort of brand loyalty and interest and whatever, and then sort of it attaches good feelings to your product, which then brings people in to buy the others.
Right. They're called Halo products, not Halo of a game, but Halo like holy, like it's the pinnacle of, in the case of automotive, it's the pinnacle of engineering. It's the pinnacle of performance, of styling, of whatever. It's the thing people put posters on their wall for. And I've mentally been putting VR in the same bucket with Elite. Like it is the Halo feature of a game to do well with that aspect of a game. And so it's the kind of thing that there may be people who in their entire career playing Elite never get VR, but knowing that they could, and looking a lot of, experiencing it through streams or other people's experiences, enhances their experience of the game, even if they never get it. And so when you take it away it's like taking away. It has a knock-on effect, I think, that goes beyond the people that just have VR. It's all the people who aspired to get it or felt good about the fact in some way that they were playing a game that had it, and then maybe someday they might get it, even if they never did. So there's I think there's a bigger impact beyond just the community that as of today has VR. And the other thing I'd say about that is I think we've talked before of, this is a business. Elite's a business. They're a public company. They have to make budgets and have plans that are months and years, at least a year in advance. So things are kind of locked in. And so when people ask questions about these things, you're going to get, in some cases, kind of a lawyer kind of answer about what's possible. That being said, no successful business makes a budget or a plan for a year and then goes on autopilot. They have to take into account factors, macro factors about of what's going on in the global economy or their customer base, or certainly what we've gone through globally here in the last 3 months is a excellent object lesson in that. Everybody's plans for the last 3 months that they made 6 months ago went up in smoke. I would be shocked if FDev didn't pay attention to the reaction around VR. Maybe they underestimated it. Maybe someone was just looking at what percent of the player base. They were looking at it clinically and not really realizing the emotional impact, the knock-on effect, the aspirational aspect, the halo, all these things, right? Like maybe they just did not put that into their calculus. So let's wait and see what happens here. But I think there's certainly been a strong feedback response here, and I'm optimistic to see what they'll do with it.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if they're just going to lockstep go towards something they said they were going to do 2 months ago.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's the state of the game, which wraps us up. Guys, do you have anything you want to sort of add to it? Anything you want to ask? Anything you want to say for the record, whatever, before we cut this out for the week?
Nothing from me. It's been a hell of a week. I think we went around the bases a couple times tonight, so I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good too. I think we've said it all.
Yeah, man.
Lots of stuff.
I think we definitely have lots and lots and lots of stuff. We didn't have time to even get to all of the stuff. It's that crazy of a week. All right. For anybody out there that's looking to join the Discord, tinyurl.com/Elite Week Discord. For any of you guys looking for the podcast, you can just go to anchor.fm/Elite Week. All one word, no spaces, no anything. And that will pull up from there you can see where it's on Apple, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Podify, Whatify, whateverify. It's on all of the things. Stitcher, Glitcher, Switcher, Witcher. It's on The Witcher 3 on Netflix. It's everywhere. You can definitely check it out on please subscribe to the YouTube you're already watching. Enjoy that. There will be more links and stuff on the YouTube page, and it's just if you just go to YouTube and look for Elite Week, you will see it right there. And you can follow through the links if you have any questions. Please post a comment in the comment section. Tell us what you liked, what you didn't, what you want to hear about. Hey man, talk about this next week. I'm interested in that. Or hey, I'm super psyched about this project. I want to know about this, or I want to get involved in that. Post all that in the Discord,
do more of that cool looping stuff you guys do at the start of the show.
Yeah. Oh God.
It's not a bug; it's a feature.
Don't make me. Yeah. No. I'm just gonna be bashing my head against the wall. But so yeah. Thanks a lot, guys, and we're gonna go out with the song for the podcast, which you'll hear right after this. Have a great night, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
And we're out.